but I did because the IE sound, it was like his name was like Carl. And I would just start calling him
Harley.
Carly.
But it's official. You want everyone calling you Kramer. Am I correct?
Sure. I don't care. Like Jay Ryan would call me Paul Kennel. I mean, because he just got Paul Kramer, Paul Kennel, and pretty soon it's hilarious. My mom is Mom Kennel, Jennifer's Jennifer Kennel, my daughter's Lauren Kennel. I mean, it's just we're gonna change
Good.
our name to Kennel.
Do people really think your last name is Kennel?
No, but they
They
mistake
could.
it and they kind of blur
They
it
could.
together. Yeah, they could. I'm gonna
Yeah.
change it legally. Might as well. I'm
Sure.
the last of the Kramers, so who needs it?
Well, in case you haven't figured it out yet, we are indeed doing another episode of Full Throttle Talk for 2025. We had planned on having a longer break between obviously our last show last week and 2026, but so many of you had said that you wanted us to do another show, and frankly, we missed doing that show for you and this show for you, and the extraordinary amount of automotive news that came out in just the last 2 weeks merited another podcast. So we are doing, and this will officially be, unless Paul can talk me into doing another one, this will officially be the last official Full Throttle Talk of 2025. And I want to start out by, and I won't waste a lot of time, but I want to start out by saying thank you to all of you that have helped to make this podcast so successful. We're not going to yammer on about all of that, but here's the bottom line. We have found our community, and a lot of you guys feel like you found your community as well. We want to continue to do that. We don't have aspirations to be, Spike's Car Radio or be the number one this or the number one that. It doesn't really matter. We don't care. I mean, maybe we'll come out with some swag, but I got news for you. We don't make any money on it. We're just doing it so that we have an outlet to talk about what we're passionate about. And I truly appreciate the fact that you all feel the same way. Welcome to Full Throttle Talk, the podcast where horsepower meets conversation. From supercars to classic legends, high revving tech to motorsport mayhem, we cover it all. Straight from the driver's seat, whether you're a gearhead or racer or just love the thrill of the open road, you're in the right place. Buckle up, hit the gas, and let's go full throttle into today's episode. So Paul and Dave, welcome to this week's podcast.
Good morning.
Hello.
We have got a
Hello.
lot of topics today, and I think we should just jump right in if you guys don't have any reason to delay and talk about what you did in cars this week. Paul Kramer, go first.
All right. Well, first thing, because I know my parents are probably listening, but just a quick shout out. This Friday is my parents' 60th wedding anniversary.
Oh
So
man, that's
Woo-hoo.
awesome.
happy anniversary to my parents.
Very nice.
Crazy that my mom, who's not a car person, listens to our podcast, which means I
She
have to
likes to
edit
hear her
myself.
son's golden tones.
Oh God, no, no, she likes to hear what you guys just say. Actually, she knows what I'm going to say.
She likes us
Um,
picking on you, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
she
She
does
feels
enjoy
better
that.
about that.
So as off air, Tim, you mentioned what the heck? You've got American cars in the background, which I had to remind him they are Tuckers. They made I don't know 52 of them. If you haven't seen the movie Tucker with Jeff Bridges, I think
Yep.
Yep.
amazing movie. And but they're very German, like they're flat six engines, air cooled in the back of the car. But anyway, this is a museum, and on Saturday, we got to go visit it. They were the very private owners, one of the most spectacular museums I've seen. It's in Southern California. There is probably four buildings combined in different areas. I'm talking two, 300,000 square feet. And I'm just going to rifle through some
Oh,
pictures so
wow.
you can see it.
So if you guys are just listening to us, we're seeing some old, obviously a lot of old vintage German stuff. Seeing some, it looks like 19 or mid 1950s Volkswagen vans.
Two buses, a 356. If you see behind the 356, those are vintage movie projectors, completely restored. And on the
Oh,
wall, those
cool.
paintings, they're not paintings, they're all roadside advertisements from Europe and other countries in the US when they used to just take these printed pages and put them on the walls. And they've been preserved. Um, some of these cars are unrestored original, but look at the memorabilia in the background.
My gosh, yeah.
And then,
That's amazing.
but that's their new Turbo 50 in signal yellow.
This looks like Leno's warehouse if Leno was more focused on, you know, German cars.
Yes, that's a Lancia Stratos in the foreground with a early GT350. That's a 69S Targa, I think. And then you see the lowest mileage, most perfect, I think R32 with a launch at Delta. Let's see. Yeah.
That's quite a
It,
diverse collection, I got to say.
and here's the thing is everything there is perfect. I mean, and the signage is insane. And I've talked to the owner and he said they have this amazing collection. It's not open to the public. They graciously will open it up to a few friends every few years. They're very private. They're not, it's not about look what I have. This is the perfect Venn diagram of money, passion, and time. Like this is their complete focus. And when you see how diverse, so just to give you an idea, inside these big showroom things, I think there's three complete working gas stations from different eras
Wow.
like
Wow.
a 20s, a 30s. But then you go into it. I mean, obviously there's not fuel in there, but there's the pumps. There's a little ding ding you drive over. Then you go into the little where the booth is where you pay your money and you open the cash register. I said, "What's this?" He goes, "This is a 1920s gas station that would have been from the Midwest." You open the cash register till and there's real money in there from the 20s. They have a complete general store, huge general store with everything from things to hold your socks up, those stirrup things from the 20s to candy to razor blades. I mean,
Are you allowed to say what industry or business these folks were in?
no.
No.
But
That's
I'll tell you one thing. It is, you know how you find out these people with extreme wealth do something completely mundane?
rubber bands, straws, toilet seats.
Just something you're like, oh, well, that makes sense. The world needs that.
That's I just hit the nail on the head, didn't I? One of
Yeah,
those
and
things.
but and the funny thing
Socks.
is they're just so humble, and you can just when you see this collection, you can just see its obsession and perfection. I mean, I wish I took a picture. There's a sign in there that is a Lincoln sign that takes. So if you see these, let me see if I can find a wall. All right, some of these walls are 100 feet long. There's a Lincoln sign and a Mercury sign that went on top of like a skyscraper that they were able to pull down. And by the way, so that right there where the Volkswagen bus is parked next to, I think that's another gas station
That's
that
so
opens up on
cool.
the other side.
It's super
They have
cool.
a tank in there. They have a complete fire engine, like several fire engines. As you saw, I think in one of them, there's an airplane. See it in the background
I
with
saw
part.
that. Yeah, what is that airplane?
Yeah.
Do you know?
It's a, I want to say a World War II military plane, a
Yeah, it
scout
looks like some kind of trainer of some kind, like a
It
Air
does say
Force
US.
trainer or something.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Paul nailed it. It says US something on the side. So
It's a yeah. I mean, here's the the frustrating thing is I've been. I think this was my third time to the museum. The first time I went by myself, my dad didn't want to go. I go, "Oh, Dad, you." After that, I'm like, "Dad, you missed out," because they don't do this very often. So last year they opened it around the same time, and my daughter was in town, and my daughter is not a car person, and she absolutely loved it because when you look at the artwork, I mean, I think the framing of the artwork is millions of dollars, and then I see them continuing to accrue. And I'm like, where are they going to put this? And I was asking one of them, like, where do you like how do you decide to get something? And by the way, the one of the people that helps him is probably in his 20s, early 30s. He has so much knowledge on pre-war cars for that age. I mean, Duesenbergs, they have several Duesenbergs. They
but
go to
Paul,
Hershey's and
I want to point something out, Paul. If you go back to your original picture of the Tucker, can you pull those back up?
Mhm.
Because I think it's fascinating that you find it so interesting that the parallels between the Tucker and, say, for example, Porsche, and that was what drew you to having that as your feature car when you started here. And
Yes.
yet, the Corvette, which is something that you malign viciously, might I add, also has a similar background with Porsche because the guy that started Corvette also used to race Porsche 550s in the 50s.
I mean,
And he came from where? Europe, where he
Six
was
degrees
also
of
a designer.
separation here.
Yeah, exactly.
but the
What I'm
car
saying is you're
has
this
nothing to
close to
do
being
with
a
it.
Corvette guy. Kramer, you're this close. You can
No.
taste
Hey, Paul, there's probably not even a Corvette in that thing, is there?
No, no, they
Tiny
do.
Corvette in that building.
No, I actually found pictures of it and I made sure I didn't post those. But and by the way, so if you do want to see more, and I am surprised, there is a public Instagram account. It's called Motor Car underscore collector. And you'll see that's where I
We'll
pulled all
put
the
it in the
pictures.
newsletter. We'll put it
Yeah,
in the newsletter.
but it's just wild to see the passion for it and how much they drive them. And to me, this is kind of what
So you have
car
to choose
collecting's
one.
about.
You have to choose one of the cars you saw,
A
and
Tucker,
don't the
a
Tucker. Yeah.
hundred. And I've been bugging him, and they've had think about it, they made 50 of them, and I think at one point they had three or four Tuckers. And this blue one, Waltz Blue, if you watch the movie, it's they talk about Waltz Blue. Um, when I had my Citroen SM, and he was really curious about it because they didn't have an SM, I said, "I'll tell you what, I'll let you drive my SM, and I just want to ride in the Tucker." And I have yet to get a ride in a Tucker, but I would love to get a ride in a Tucker. I love the movie. I think everything about the car is interesting. It's one of the few American cars, if I had all the money in the world, would be in the top 10.
What do you think of what's one worth?
Yeah.
Well, my guess is I think they've sold for seven figures, high sixes. They don't come up for sale very often. It's sort of like low supply, low demand.
Well, we're going to
So
be so we're going to be talking about, I mean, obviously we have our normal format. We're going to be talking about what did you do in cars this week, automotive news. But we did have a topic this week that I think we're going to be focusing in on Bring a Trailer because we had a lot of comments from folks that were sort of on both. There wasn't I was honestly surprised how divisive the Bring a Trailer conversation was based on the comments we had. So we're going to hopefully drill down on that. So David, what did you do in cars this week?
Well, it's been a fun week, and you can see behind me that is the Grinch with some terrific jalapeno vodka. So I kind
my
of brew
stomach
my
hurts.
own jalapeno vodka, right?
Yeah.
So somebody gave me this little chalice or whatever that is, a decanter, and I basically fill it full of vodka, cut up some fresh jalapenos, stuff them down in the hole, and let that ferment for a good week. And it is super tasty. It is really good. So the point of showing that is we had Targa Bar, which is our monthly gathering, Porsche gathering that we have here at the shop, and so it's basically an excuse for a bunch of Porsche guys to get together and drink and shoot the shit and tell stories and talk about cars and so on and so on. And Sunday Works provides all the libations, and so of course you must show up to get your jalapeno vodka hit. So that was one of the events from the day, and then we also did a good bit of work on, hang on one second, prepping this car, which we've talked about briefly. This car I have up for sale, so this car's got to get we had to get it prepped and shot.
Well, so let's talk
Seven,
about that. That's a
yep,
79 Talbot yellow. And I mean,
yep.
just from the pictures, looks
SC,
SC. It's a US car. Give
yep.
us the overview of it. What
I mean,
obviously,
this is and the reason one of the reasons I wanted to bring this car into the conversation because I think it opens up a very interesting conversation about mileage and why people are can get fixated on mileage and get fixated on mileage incorrectly. Like this particular chassis has 171,000 miles on the chassis. And that's kind of typical, wouldn't you think, for a 50-year-old car? I mean, I would think that if anybody's driving it and it's not keeping it in the garage, that it's going to have miles. It's going to accumulate miles over 50 years. The key on any one of these cars that you're buying, though, is what's the condition of the car? What's the history of the car in terms of what documents can somebody provide about motor rebuilds or service work or transmission or paint or any of those things? Because I will tell you this, anybody buying a what they think to be a low mileage car, especially on a 911, is going to be surprised that every one of those odometers, every single one, I can almost guarantee it, is bad, has failed at some point in its life. And it's really just a function of who's reported it, who's fixed it, what documents do you have to support it. Now I'm being extreme because I'm sure there's some that are probably okay, but I fix a lot of these because they go bad, right? And this little gear right here, you can see it, that gear will literally just turn to dust.
when do miles
And
not
it's the
matter, David, on a car? When do miles, like how old does the car have to be for miles just not to matter? It's just all about condition. Because there is a breaking point where it doesn't matter
I,
anymore.
I I think I think first of all, it's the problem with when Porsches went from a 5 digit to a 6 digit odometer, which was
Yeah.
Late 70s.
76.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, when you have a long hood, we all assume they rolled over, and unless you had documentation to prove otherwise, and even that, it would have to be an unrestored original car to warrant it. If you had a documented 60,000 mile car, but it had been restored, no one really cared. For some reason, the 6 digit odometer changed all that, which to me is sort of foolish. So I would say over 100,000 miles, it now just depends on condition. Miles become somewhat irrelevant.
Paul, I've seen cars, and I know you have too. Let's say you get a 65,000 mile, 3.2. Do you really trust it that 60,000 miles or 65,000 miles without documents?
It depends on condition. So if we
Right.
get a
Exactly.
65,000 mile car that's original paint and you start to see things like, I mean, some of the telltale signs are the wears on the pedal. You don't want to see
Right.
them too fresh, but you want to see a little bit of wear. Then you look at where the heel goes for the carpet. And then you
Yep.
start looking at anything
The
that human
headliner.
hands touch, headliner,
Yeah.
where you turn the little lights on and they start seeing kind of wear out spots. But the problem with those odometers, and I love when people, I mean, the 993 guys, God love them, they will just die on this hill about the frickin' odometer. If you watch Bring a Trailer listings and on the back does the gear. The problem is those gears are vinyl because they actually, if they were metal where they didn't wear out, every time a mile would click by, you'd hear a click. I mean, imagine how annoying that would get for 100,000 miles. So,
Well, there's other ways too, right? I mean, you could put the car up. The cars are originally just coated with cosmoline. Unless someone's actually taken the time to remove the cosmoline, if you see like the front left doesn't have any cosmoline on it, you got to start wondering whether there was some structural damage to the car. But anybody that's familiar with these cars, they always, I mean, when you're going through a car, the first thing, a 911, is the first thing you do is you open up the hood, pull back all the raggedy ass carpet that's probably there, and then you look down and where the front, the bumper supports are, and then you look for consistency from left side to right side. And it's because you can't unless the whole front end's been redone and it was done by somebody that really knew what they were doing. Nobody ever gives a shit that much, especially when these cars weren't worth anything, to do a really good job patching it back together. I mean, there's other ways too, but that's the main one. But I bought crap cars that I thought were nice cars before. I mean, you guys got stuck with them too, where there were some gremlins hiding in places you never would have expected. Paul knows the car I'm talking about. I had actually a beautiful 67S that I bought that when I went to have the bodywork redone, I found out that someone had patched the rust holes with pennies, and I found out that the firewall was riveted on versus someone having taken the time to actually weld it on. So shit like that happens, just the nature of it, I guess. So
356s are the worst culprit. I mean,
Yeah.
you have body damage in the front, they'll just cut off a whole front end and put on a different another car, which by
it's
the
also
way has a different VIN number.
It's also important to note that these cars, as they got at the newer generations, they did get noticeably stiffer. The chassis supports and whatnot made the car stiffer. But when a car's 49 years old or 30 years old, and it's got 100 or 200,000 miles on it, I wonder how much of that torsion rigidity still remains after all those miles. So that's just, you're gonna have
In,
to
in in the chassis, you mean, Tim?
yeah, I mean, if you basically, when you're redoing a body, I know that there's ways you can put RSR supports in to basically tighten the chassis back up and, all the rest of it. But there's going to be some natural fatigue and fleck that's going to have worked itself into the chassis after all that time. I'd have to think, am I wrong? We need a metallurgist.
I mean, I've wondered
Oh,
that too. At what point on like let's say you have an SC, at 200,000 miles, is there noticeable chassis degradation where, like you said, Tim, there's flex in it that's
I haven't seen
noticeable?
it. Certainly, I've definitely seen it in a Targa for sure. I mean, a Targa with lots of miles on it can certainly it'll flex just sitting, just in general. You put it up on a lift and now you can't get the doors open on the car. So those cars definitely flex. But I've got a C's, 3.2s with tons of miles. I mean, I've got friends with cars that almost got 300,000 miles on cars, and they're just still just as fun to drive as a freshie. So the only reason I just point this out is I just think people are in some cases they get hung up on the mileage and they pay premiums because the car theoretically has lower miles. And I just think that people need to be paying attention because I see so many of these cars with bad odometer gears where
Yep.
either it's unreported and it's sat for a long time. It's not there. Nobody's trying to be deceived, deceive anyone. but it's
Hmm.
really more of a function of they'll roll the car,
Well,
they'll let the
I, I'm
run
gonna
that way for 5 years.
I might take a different stance on it. We can bring this in our topic du jour when we're talking about bring a trailer, because I think a lot of the disclosure that happens from people being able to carefully track the histories of cars now, using VIN numbers and whatnot with bring a trailer, has rooted out some of the people that may have been operating on the edges and hiding things like, bad odometers that the miles are underreported and things like that. And a lot of those people now don't have the ability to, I don't know what the word would be, but maybe take advantage of a not so careful buyer. Paul, honestly, in Southern California, when we were living part-time there were so many 911 scammers. It was unfreaking real. And I don't want to
Yep.
name names, but they were everywhere. And you wouldn't have to even you could go to one event and you could start tripping over them. Guys that were doing fake RSs and guys that were doing just all kinds of shady shit. I mean, all the
Yeah.
time. I don't know what
And
happened to any of
and you're
them.
right. And I think a lot of it has been rooted out. And the one that, so public and is CPR. I mean, they're finally getting arrested. People are getting arrested. And
Well,
the
but
irony is we've watched it go on for so long.
But they were doing what they were doing was essentially mismanaging money. It was almost like a financial Porsche restoration Ponzi
Mm,
scheme.
that was part of
Mhm.
it.
Were they
That was
actually
part of it.
okay?
Oh,
What do I not
well, the other
know?
part was you bring your car in to get the interior done. And next thing you know, they've sold your car. And then you don't and then you find out, well, no, I don't want it. I want it back. And then you get the car back and they charge you for the interior, but they never did the interior.
I'm talking about more, I think, crafty
Okay, even
fraud.
more aggressive. You bring your original car in there for restoration, and they're no dummies. They take the original parts. Like picture a 67S. You
Yeah.
know how hard it is to find those parts,
Yes.
and they're no dummy. Someone comes in there, hey, I found this cool 67S Survivor. I want you to restore it. And they go in there and they go buy all the repro parts, and they take the side deco and all the stuff we know is unobtainium.
Were they really doing that?
Oh yeah,
Oh, I didn't know
big
that.
time,
That's
big
dirty.
time,
I
super
had no
dirty.
idea.
And I remember when Porsche partnered with them when the Carrera T came out. Remember they did. I don't know why Porsche partnered with them. And I was like sitting there like, why did you choose these guys? And for a short bit, Stoddard's was going, they were buying tons of parts from Stoddard's, and Stoddard's was going to co-own the business. And I remember when they came into town for the Lit Show weekend, and I saw the one of the owners of Stoddard. Stoddard's was a dealership that split off, and the parts became its own thing, the classic parts. And all I know is when they opened up the books, they realized this is a business to run from, and they were right. And here's the thing: is I was dealing with her dad for years, and I knew it was bad business. And then when he passed away in the early 2020 or 21, and the daughter and son took over, I thought, okay, maybe this is a chance for them to clean things up. New level of crime, a whole new level of crime.
When was the last time you came across a fake car, like a fake RS or a fake S even? Because there were some 20, 25 years ago, there were
Yeah, it's been
fake.
a long. I think
Yeah.
now it's so hard to it. It is so
Porsche's
hard
cracking
to
down,
fake.
made that much harder to do now with serial numbers and so on. They're
I
not
think so.
publishing
Well,
that
I mean, I
stuff on
think
a COA.
the Seinfeld deal with the 356 GT was really the last one, and I think that was something that got sold and came out of the hype, the 2013 to 16 time period,
yeah.
and then it got discovered when it finally, think about it, it took like 5, 6 years of
So
auctions
let's
for it to
talk about that.
discovered.
Everyone, well, of course, everyone listening or watching probably knows about that, but it was a 57 or 58 356
Yeah.
GS. Was it right? Am I right?
Yep. I think something like that. I can't remember. I'll look it up.
So
But yeah,
it was a four cam. I think it was either a GS or a GT, like, unicorn car. And it turned out wasn't the whole thing fake, basically? Didn't they
yep,
figure that out?
yep,
And so then the guy sued Jerry. Jerry said, "Whatever, bro, I'll just give your damn money back." And the
yeah.
guy still wanted to
Right.
go after him for whatever reason. I don't How'd that ever resolve? CPR had to
Uh,
buy the car back?
well, no. This was through European Collectibles, and
Oh,
it
right.
it it quietly got resolved. Um, Honestly, I was always shocked how this got by people that had been in this industry for a long time. Jerry Seinfeld has, very, very well known, shrewd buyers on his end and people to look at cars. European Collectibles does. I don't know. It was a
What do you
58.
think, Paul? How did that get by him? I've always wondered that. Because I know there's that.
Didn't it
Okay.
I
pass through
think it,
some
I think
auctions
I
or
think at the
whatever
end
as
of the
well?
day,
All
I would say the one thing I've learned from this business and just human nature in general, sadly, when money is involved, in some cases, the worst things of humans can come out. And
Well,
I've
we're
seen
not,
it.
let's not insinuate anything because we don't know all the players at hand, but I get what you're saying. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously that makes sense.
I mean, the perfect example, when you see estate sales, someone dies in the family, and then you just see a family get torn apart over things and money. And a lot of times I get the cars to sell because they need an impartial person. And it's sad. Like there's one person who wants the car for sentimental reasons, and the other person who wants the money. And then in the end, no, it's like King Solomon. No one gets anything. It's just
And that's
like
how it ends up in the Auto Kennel Museum.
and yeah, and I sit there and I don't want any part of it. I'm just trying to do what I'm required to do to sell the car, and it feels sort of bad. And I see sort of this human nature come out of people that were and families split apart over money. And I mean, you see this all the time. And I what I've learned is it's one of these things about humans that sometimes a characteristic that comes out in some humans, and you get enough people in the background. And think about it, when you were restoring your 67S, you remember that time the market took off. I mean, it exploded in 13, 12 and 13. First 356s and then long hoods. And when that happened, everyone and their mother was restoring a car. And some of them, like you, were trying to restore it the best you could. And some were trying to just get it out the door and get it to
Do
auction
you
and
remember
sell
how
it.
you bailed me out on that, by the way? Do you remember?
I don't.
Okay, I'm going to tell the story because actually I was meaning to and I formally say thank you. So I was told the car was done, and I'm not going to mention any names. I was told the car
Oh,
was
yeah.
done, and I wasn't an expert on what done was. And I knew that, you know, the 67S in particular, the people out there that know about those cars, I don't even know how to describe how they're so on the spectrum in a good way. It's just incredible, just in freaking incredible.
For
So
one model year, one model,
yeah,
67S
yeah,
only.
exactly. And so I had this car that was done. Okay, time to pay the rest of the bill. It was like a lot of money, and okay, the car's perfect. And I go to Paul and I say, Paul, I am friendly, or if not friends, with the guys that did the restoration at this point after all the effing time. And I don't want to have any conflict, and I don't want to basically be making pissed off, all the whole thing. I don't want to, piss off the community. So I need you to help me find somebody that I could send in that's going to be basically my, bad guy and pick everything over. And you did. And it wasn't you, it was somebody else. I won't mention his name. Do you want me to?
Sure, yeah, he's great. Yeah, you
Dirk.
mentioned.
Oh my God, that guy. What the hell? The shit he knew and he found was extraordinary. He is. Have you ever met anybody that has that level of knowledge about anything in your
Yeah.
entire life? Maybe
No,
doctors.
I met him 25 years ago. I mean, he's probably in his, I think, early 60s. He's been doing this since he was a teenager. I mean, how many teenagers are concoring cars? Then he's a race car driver. Then he's driving real 911Rs in vintage races. I mean, he lives for this stuff. And
What's his whole
his
name in case they want to look him up?
Dirk Layer.
Yeah,
And
Dirk
if you go
Lair.
to Instagram, I think just look up Dirk Layer. When you go to like Lufkakult and you see the really special cars at Lufkakult, quietly behind the stage, most of those are his clients that he's wrangling to get their cars
Well,
there.
he gave me a list. He gave me a list of the shit that was wrong, and it's to this day, and I don't want to think about it much, but to this day, I wonder if they knew the shit that was wrong and they were just hoping I was going to let it get by me, or they didn't know. See, I agree with you. Paul's shaking his
Yeah.
head if you're just listening, that they didn't know, and Dirk was that much more of an expert. But I have to say, to this day, I'm quite certain that the people that received the list and I told them what they need to finish on the car still resent me to this day.
Oh,
I'm quite
for
sure.
sure they do. Yeah, it's like rubbing their nose in the paper. And that's the problem you see is we think we know what restored is because, to restore a Porsche to a very high level, close to the factory, it's gotten so distorted that I think, perfect example, Will Hoyt builds really nice cars. Those are nicer than the factory ever built. And to the now people think that's what a 356 is. I'm like, no, they never look like that. I mean, that was a period in the 90s, everyone wanted over restored. And he just continued to do that and serve the public what they wanted. And they're beautiful cars. They're not factory correct. They're not the way the factory did. So the one thing is whenever I get a really special car and a 356, especially, I go to Dirk and I'm like, am I crazy? Is this like am I looking at this with rose-colored glasses? So I still to this day is the one person that I will consult with just to make sure I'm seeing everything. or I'm not missing something. And 356s are really one of the most tough ones. And if I take a 356 on, which you'll see very few of them, it's going to be a really good car because all of those I don't trust. They just,
They don't have to be super perfect to love them or appreciate them.
right.
But if you're paying for something that's supposed to be a 10 out of 10 and exactly right, and the
Yes.
people that you're paying claim that it is, and then you have somebody like Dirk come in. I mean, he's like one of the, I mean, I never actually, I don't, I'm sure I've met him, but I don't really remember. I picture him as being a very, introverted type guy who probably tries to not, get under anybody's skin, at least in,
Opposite.
complete opposite. Okay. Well, I mean, he acted for me like if I was Tony Soprano and I was calling in somebody to do some collections and make the counts right. That's what it was like. It was really
Yeah.
nice.
He
Yeah.
he can come across as condescending, but like I say, it's hard to be humble when you know that much stuff. And he knows that. I mean, I met him over 20 years ago. We had a 67S slate gray coupe that was a sunroof car owned by an astronaut. And it was not a restored car. And he came to look at it. And this is like 2006. We were selling it for 70 grand. I mean, it has since sold for well over 500,000. I mean, the holy grail of 67Ss. And I watched him just take a big steaming turd on that car. And he didn't buy it, and his client didn't buy it. But the one thing was, he came back and he's like, "Hey, I know you're new at this, but here's what you need to look at." And I keep learning from him on stuff. And the funny thing is, he doesn't understand the new GT3 stuff and even the nine, some of the newer stuff, even the 90, 964, 993. And I get to finally share what I know about or G bodies. Like I know a lot more about G bodies than he does. And he's really one of the few kind of broker guys I will work with. Very fair. And the end of the day, he just loves the cars so much and he wants people to stop effing with them and just make them right and then use them and not worry about Pebble Beach and PPF. And his ethos is very much aligned with mine in the end. I'm
Yeah.
glad he helped you.
Yeah, definitely.
Honestly, I was afraid. I was like, ooh, I don't know how Tim's gonna take this.
No, I was grateful. I mean, I admire people like that, honestly. You know,
What happened to the car? I mean, did you not do the deal, or you just sell
I
it on, or
ended
what
up.
no,
happened?
no, no, I'd restored it. So again, I don't want to mention any names because some of them associated with it are pretty famous. And I don't want to, yeah, I mean, I ended up selling it at auction.
My
And
client bought it at auction, and you
oh
sold
yeah.
it in the.
Oh, yeah, let's tell
You
that
sold
story.
it in the. So
So it was the case. I'll tee it up since we're on this
yep.
topic. It was four numbers off. The case was four numbers off. Everything else was matching. It may have been five numbers. I don't remember. And I totally disclosed it. I was not trying to hide anything from anybody. I put it at auction at Monterey. It was with Case or something. You remember who it was? It wasn't one of the big
I thought
houses.
it wasn't Gooding, or
No, it
was
wasn't
it?
Gooding. Mm-mm.
Okay, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
remember.
So anyway, they put it on auction, and evidently, so they called me up and they said, "I've got an offer for you," and the net of it was getting us out of it, basically getting our money back. We weren't doing it to make money. We were doing it at the time just because we thought we'd won it, but by the time it was done, it was the last thing I wanted, so I was ready to get rid of it, you know. And so so the car sells at auction. The lady that bought it, Paul.
Yeah, so clients of mine or friends, uh, it's a couple. They're dating, a gentleman and a woman. They buy it together. She's into cars, but not like us into like the numbers stuff. I think what happened is they had someone look at the car from who looked at it just as a mechanic would look at it. He didn't look at it from a collector standpoint. And he's like, this is a freaking great car. But when you ask someone like that, they don't know how to put it in context of value, numbers matching in this. And as we learned, Tim, numbers matching on a 67S, of all the numbers matching, it matters massively.
It could be a
And
hundred to like even if it's a really weird color, like 150 grand today.
yeah, just not have. I tell people all the time, like, hey, to get a driver's non-matching numbers S, who cares? It really
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It just go get whatever. But anyway, so uh, they get the car together. They have it for a few years. Their relationship ends. Whatever happens, she ends up with the car. She doesn't want it. Like you, she had different bad reasons. Like I'm just this car's associated with just bad memories. Gives it to me to sell.
Juju.
I don't know how she didn't understand it was not numbers matching. And I don't know if this was in the sale process, is this was just between her and her boyfriend. I get it. And I knew Tim, I knew the restoration. I didn't really dig deep into it. So I start digging deep into it and I'm calling the players involved and then it comes up it's like, "Oh, this is 4 digits off or 5 digits." It's it's like hand grenades. It's close enough. It's really really close. And I go, tell the woman, I go, "Hey, this isn't numbers matching." So the price we had it at, I go, "This changes everything." And now I just killed the messenger. She came to our shop so angry.
Well,
And I'm like,
let's talk about this car. It was slate gray originally. It
"Yep,
was red interior. I'd gotten the right, made in German. It was new original stock, houndstooth, the whole thing. Everything was done by the best people. Not that I could afford, because some of them I couldn't afford at the time, but the best people that were willing to work on it. That's the reality of it.
yeah."
So the
You
car
you
was
you rolled up your
spectacular.
sleeves and did a ton of work. I
I
mean,
did.
people don't realize to restore one of these cars, you don't get the privilege of just giving it to a shop and writing a check. Even if you can write the check, you have to become a general contractor and you have to go
Yep.
chase down parts and
Yep.
you're like, "Okay, this is the best guy for this one thing." And what you experienced, Tim, I see over and over. By time you're done restoring it, you're over it. There's so much stress. You're like, "This isn't even fun." And you start the car and God forbid it doesn't start, you just want to burn the pile. You're done with it. It's just an
Well,
emotional train wreck.
so we're in Monterey, maybe last year or the year before, and we were at what Meekum, and the car's up there being put for sale. Okay. And it didn't sell at like 180 or 185, which by the way was less than what she paid for it. So she paid more. I'll just leave it at that.
Yep.
And yeah, long story short, I like contacted him, said like, "I'll freaking buy it back for that. I know what I had in it and I know what that car would be sweet. Just, you put some 7Rs in the back, you put some, lower it down a little bit, but that car would be fantastic like that."
And here's the funny thing is what it hammered for and didn't sell, that is exactly what I told her it would sell for. And
Yep.
it 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 was such an insult to her. And I'm like, "I'm just telling you, this is the market. Don't hate the player, hate the
But Paul,
game."
I think she did sell it, because I think when I saw it, it actually had been part of the Reggie Jackson collection. That's what someone told
Oh
me, whether
wow.
it's true or not. You know what? You know who messaged me that was uh, TLG.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
and
That
Marco would
makes
know.
sense.
Marco
Marco
would
would
know.
definitely know.
Yeah, he would definitely
Yeah.
know. He's the one that told me about it. All right, cool. Anyway, trip down memory lane.
Yeah.
Sorry
There
if
you
we
go.
bored you, David.
Oh, no, didn't bore me. It started with an odometer gear. So,
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll blame you. But just looping this into what you do, David, honestly, the nice thing about what your shop does is there's not a lot of bullshit involved. You basically drop the car off and it's soup to nuts because you're vertically integrated. You engine, body, interior, the whole thing. And where I didn't, I'd had to have the car hauled over different shops all over Southern California. The wheel guy was being done up in Oregon, and all those a nightmare. Moving on.
yep.
Let's talk
What did you
about
do, Tim? What did you
uh
do?
honestly, I did nothing in Car Week, but truthfully, even if I did, I want to move on to the automotive news because we have a lot of fun to talk about, and I
Okay,
think it'll. All right,
fair
so
enough.
I'm going to go first. I know I have this in a different order because I think this will might be a little bit more entertaining than yammering on more about Porsches. All right, I discovered this morning, and you guys don't know about it, which makes me really happy. Now, I'm showing them right now what looks like a Formula 3 car with one wheel on the back. Okay. And that Formula 3 car with one wheel at the back does look a little strange, but this is what I found. Okay. Now, if you're on YouTube, just go ahead and give me 2 seconds so I can adjust my
It it
background
looks
effects.
it looks like AI where you put in a formula car, you say, "Hey, make a copy of it," and then you go make a copy of it, make a copy of it, and then pretty soon you end up with this slingshot looking
It's a
Okay.
F1
slingshot.
car.
So there it is with four wheels on it. Now, you guys are saying, why the hell am I showing this to you? It's not a street car because it is. Now, that is a cop pulling the car over. So here, I was really intrigued by this. So someone's built a Formula 3 car for the road. Like, that's really cool. And there's virtually no information available on what this guy is creating. If you guys want to check this out, I think it was called the RYN, stands for Ryan, but RYNF3. But if you guys go to RYN, I'll put this in the show notes, rynmotors.com. You can look this up yourself. So here's the gist of it. And this is what I thought was very clever. This is the reason I think you guys would appreciate it. So you know that you don't have to have a motorcycle license to drive a tricycle, basically, or a trike, right? Two wheels in the front, one wheel in the back. But what I didn't know, and what Ryan evidently does know, is if you buy it that way and then you, as the owner, convert it to four wheels, it's still legal under the same rules, and you could still have it as a three-wheeler legally. So that means, yes. So what motor that has in it? I did think I read that it has a three-cylinder in it. So what three-cylinder? We can pray that it's got that badass Toyota motor in
Corolla
it.
GTI, yeah, Corolla GR.
Exactly. If we're lucky, but it most likely has something of similar to like what they put in the ATV type things where they sound like buzz saws. But who knows? We're gonna see. So
What's the
that is.
license? What's that? What state is that? I'm trying to see the license plate on that sheriff.
Oh,
Is that
you're so
Texas?
obsessed. You're so obsessed with plates, bro.
Is that
You know what?
Texas?
I'm gonna say Montana just to drive you crazy.
Oh, well, I mean, this seems
Looking at
on
the
brand for
foliage, what's
Florida,
that?
but then, at first I thought, oh, it's Florida, but then Florida wouldn't pull them over because they just don't care.
But yeah, oh, exactly. But well, so here's the thing that was my takeaway. All these people that yammer on about I want a race car for the street. There it is. Again. So and the big reveal when he's going to start taking orders for this thing is next month. And on his website, when you go to his website, I did message him telling him we were going to be talking about him today. If you go to his website, it's just a placeholder website with a countdown clock. No ability to put in an order or anything like that. But guess how much that thing is? It's all what I could ascertain is it's carbon fiber tub, and it seemingly has all the race car safety shit built into it. So
Is this turnkey done? Like you don't have to supply your own engine or
what
roller
I know
kit.
is what I told you. Yeah, no, you
Uh,
turnkey done. What would you guys
Under
pay?
100 grand, under 100 grand,
What
95
do you
grand.
think, David?
I was going to say like 75 or something like that.
And you guys are both right. It's supposedly 70 grand. Now, so what's fascinating is if he could have 3D scanned a real Formula 3 chassis and basically figured out how to make his own version of it. But what I don't know how it works in the back where you're able to swap once the car arrives in your driveway or whatever, the one big ass one wheel off and put the two wheels back on. Technologically, that'll be kind of fascinating. So
I mean,
Would you
thoughts?
do it on
I
there
wouldn't
in
trust
Puerto
me.
Rico? Yeah, is
No,
that
I wouldn't drive that in Puerto Rico, but you know where I drive it is where you live. I drive that in North Carolina on those crazy fun roads in 2 seconds. I'm not saying I'd ever make it back, because God knows how those, hillbillies and trucks would
yeah.
react, but there you
Well,
go.
we'll store it for you, Tim. We'll store it for you when you
You
buy
know
it.
what?
So just let me know.
You do a General Lee livery, and I think they'll accept you just fine.
All right, so here's my other automotive news, and I shared this with you guys. So that little dude is coming to the United States. That is a Fiat. Am I saying it right? Shit. How do I say the word? Topolino.
Topolino,
Okay,
Topolino.
Fiat Topolino. Here, I'll put up another picture. Now, they do have it with doors. So if you're listening, what I'm showing is a picture of a tiny ass little Fiat that looks very much like Paul, what are those things from the 1950s that had the
Dollies.
return?
No,
Yeah,
they made a
Jolly.
Topolino. They made a Jolly, but they made a Topolino in the 50s. But my favorite part is the doors are replaced by like these museum stanchions. Like it's a rope with hooks, like a queue line at an
It's
airport.
gonna
Okay, so
it's
I
gonna
checked
keep you in the car though. No
I
problem.
I checked the dimensions of that thing, and that thing is actually smaller in almost every measurable way, pun intended, than our golf cart. So that
Oh
car,
yeah.
it's slightly wider, but it's shorter and it's not as tall than our golf cart. So what I think this will be used for in the United States is just that, because it's going to be something that's going to be limited to like,
Yeah.
I forget the mile per hour, but 30 miles per hour or something. What do you
It'll
guys
be
think?
like a it'll be like a gem car, you see going
Yeah,
around
gem car.
communities,
Yeah.
Huntington Beach, you see a lot of them that,
Yep.
in congested areas where they're street legal, but they can't go on the highway. Literally dimensions that look like it could go forward or backward. It looks like the same either way. Like maybe
They
the
spin
seat
the seats around.
swivels.
I,
Yeah,
I think I
exactly.
think you actually nailed it. I don't know if you did your homework prior, but I think the back panels actually can be replaced with the front panels, and I think the whole exterior is made of plastic, so you nailed it. But I
Perfect.
think I don't know.
Is it,
I
is
love
it
stuff like
electric,
that.
Tim?
Yeah, it's
Is it
all
electric?
electric, and
Okay.
and, and it's the start price is like 12 grand in Europe.
Yeah.
12
Wow.
grand for that thing. You know what a really nice golf
Considering,
cart costs nowadays? Do you guys have any
yeah,
idea?
well,
19, 20.
Yeah, or more. A Garena
absolutely.
is 40 grand.
Gem cars are 45,000 dollars for a
Wow.
4-seat gem car.
Yeah. So that's my automotive news, something a little bit fun. And by the way, both of my suggestions will easily fit under a Christmas tree, sticking to the holiday theme. So, David, I don't have any idea what this is. I didn't click your link. So, what do you got?
Okay. Hey, I don't know if this was a story that appeared maybe 10 days ago or something, at least that I saw. But apparently, over in Russia, hundreds of Porsches effectively got bricked on over a couple of days, where they lost, and it's unclear as to the why here, but effectively they lost communications with the vehicle tracking system, and as a result, the car locks itself, shuts it off, and it makes the car basically undrivable. It bricks the car, and the story is that I mean Porsche has stopped selling cars in Russia, obviously since the Ukrainian issues and so on. But they're still supporting the cars. But there's at least some thinking that it was malicious, and that somebody sent out or figured out some way to go hack the system and disconnect this vehicle tracking system and
Was this
brick these
electric
cars.
or all
No,
cars?
no, no. These are ICE cars, the whole nine yards. It's just all these cars now have, and these systems in them where they're either talking through GPS or they're talking through the Wi-Fi, or not Wi-Fi, excuse me, cellular networks, so
Hmm.
that if the car is stolen or towed or something, that it's sending some communication as to what's going on.
Let me share you a real world experience. So we brought our 2018 GT3 touring to Puerto Rico when we moved here, 7 years ago. And it wasn't maybe a month or two that it stopped working. And I took it to the Porsche dealership, in which there's a huge, really impressive dealership here. And they really didn't know how to freaking fix it. And I kept on pressing, kept on pressing. I called Porsche and I found out the reason was exactly the reason you just said, because that car was originally registered in the United States, Missouri, if I remember correctly. And now that it was in the Caribbean, the over-air updates weren't somehow syncing up, and it was causing our little pretty touring to, crap its drawers. So there you go. Makes
Well,
sense.
I looked at this, and when I saw this, it gave me chills just thinking of what could happen if some malicious player really decided they wanted to go after
We're all
infrastructure.
buying cars from you with no computers. That's the answer.
Yeah, well, I like the sound of that, but boy, I'd like, imagine a bunch of Toyotas just stranded by the side of the road and the impact that could have. So it's out there. We got to be careful. But I thought that was an interesting piece of news. If you dig in, it suggests that they had to literally tear these cars apart in some
Wow.
cases to get them to come back online. So
That's
I think they
extraordinary.
fixed the
They just
problem, but
brick
it was hundreds
themselves.
and hundreds of cars in Russia.
Wow, that's crazy. They
Well,
just brick.
would that have been covered under warranty? I imagine not, right? Or maybe would have been.
Oh, it would had to have been covered under warranty, absolutely. Because it did say in the article that they jumped in and fixed whatever the issues were.
I
Well,
wonder,
yeah,
as cars,
amazing.
how far back, like what point is it that you get a car that's no longer connected? I mean, cars have had computers. Our 3.2 Motronics have a computer in it. There is a computer that, but in terms of being connected, is it 15 that after 2015, all cars became connected? 17, like for Porsche, when did Porsches become connected?
Yeah, I would have said probably 10 years, something like that.
Okay.
That's probably right.
So
Yeah.
997 and older. All right, we're good.
My
Uh,
GT3 RS has got we got liability though.
Yeah, when
Um,
it bricks, I'll buy it for 15 grand from you.
Perfect. You got it, buddy.
Now we're talking about the resale value of electric cars. That's a different topic. All right, so let's move on. Paul, you've got something really fun that I think, I'm not a big heritage, these sort of marketing exercises, but damn, they nailed this one.
Yeah. And it was interesting because when you announced we're not that was our last show, this just came out. I was like, "Oh, I want to talk about this." Because what we're talking about is the Porsche 911 GT3 90 FA Porsche. And what that is a 992.2 GT3 Touring with a commemorative limited edition. They're making 90 units in celebration of Ferry Porsche's son, Bootsy Porsche. And if you remember, Bootsy Porsche passed away, I don't know, 10 years ago, I think now. I can't remember, 2012. But he was the person behind the design of the 911, the 904, which was a remarkable design in terms of production and really moved Porsche into a whole new realm. And which, by the way, he never got out of design. I think he flunked out of design school, but he became such a big part of Porsche's history. And they're celebrating his 90th birthday, which would have been December 11th, with this heritage. What I found interesting about it is I think this is the first GT3 they've done this kind of limited edition. We've seen 50th anniversaries. And I reached out to my insider Porsche designer, Deep Throat Mole, and I sort of was asking him why. Like they're not having a hard time selling GT3s, last I checked. You know, it, and they're not making 1964 of them. They're making 90. And I don't know what you have to be to get 90. Now, the first one, actually, technically, you're only getting 89. So basically, Bootsy's youngest son, Mark Porsche, partnered with Sunderwich, and they came up with this sort of almost like a love letter from Mark to his dad.
You have more
And
pictures you can put up, Paul?
yep, I'm going to show you more pictures. So, by the way, my inside mole said, I asked him, "Hey, how involved were you with this?" He says they took my heritage concept and that was it, and he had nothing else to do with it. It was all Sunderwich. So here's the interior, and I'm going to see if I can find a better picture of the interior. So what's cool is the interior fabric. If you can see, it's got red truffle brown leather. There's wood, but the it's like a pepita with red, green, brown, and he says it basically was similar to the pattern of his dad's favorite sport coat.
So they had three sports coats. I watched the video on this. They had three of his dad's sports coats, and they were actually matching the material
Yes.
or trying to. That's so cool.
It was very
That
cool.
part's
The
cool for sure.
the color is called I think FA Porsche Grün, which is it's a very similar to oak green metallic, which was a family favorite, but also Bootsy Porsche had a green an oak green metallic G body, which is really the inspiration, which I looked all over for pictures of it. I couldn't find it. Mechanically, there's no difference. It's a GT3 Touring. There's no upgrades mechanically. It comes with this, and if people don't realize, I think it was his brother and him who started Porsche design in the early 70s. And Bootsy Porsche designed the first chronograph Porsche design watch from the early 70s, and they basically made an homage to that. They talked about how they patinaed it to look like an older watch. It's got his initials on it. You also get this lovely luggage in the truffle brown leather to match the Weekender bag. And here's another shot. I don't know if you could see that pattern, but
Love it.
it's got like a oxblood red, green. There's like four or five colors. It is actually the coolest
David, you
part.
totally need to copy that for one of your
Can
project
you
cars.
Oh, I
can you
mean,
see
I'd have to
can you
find
see
the
it
fabric.
closer
It would
there,
be
Tim? The
love to do that.
pepita.
Yeah.
Actually, I think
Yeah.
it's not even pepita. It is houndstooth.
Yep.
Um, his initials. I would say the only thing I don't like is his initials are annoyingly
So what's the
everywhere.
difference between Pepita and Houndstooth for those who are not interior nerds?
Um,
I
Pepita.
fortunately know that.
Well,
I
actually,
can't wait
Dave should
to hear
answer because
Paul's
this is.
answer to this because I'm not even sure I know the answer to it.
Well, no, they're different. They're actually different patterns.
Not a lot
Houndstooth.
different though.
They're not a lot different, but when you look at houndstooth, it has like a jag to it. It has like a almost like a tooth. And when you look at pepita, it's actually squares, like a checkers, and they're made up of different diagonal lines. So they don't actually jut out. So if you look at let me see that this picture you could see really close. So
This
that
is
right
more of
there
a
is
houndstooth.
houndstooth. Yeah,
Yes,
see
Yes.
how it's got like a diamond jagged? And
Yeah,
that's the same thing this pattern does, which is unusual. I don't know. Do you have a swatch of Pepita?
of
I
course he
do, but
does.
it's not here. I don't have one with me at the
Oh,
moment. So
Dave, didn't you know we were going to be talking about this?
I didn't know.
Um,
That just looks like a jacket from the 70s.
it does, but I mean, look at this. I am not one who's a sucker for these limited edition, what I call fluff packages where you don't get anything sporty, you just get, you know, whatever touches of leather. But this is really cool. So my first question, two questions. Who gets it and how much are they going to sell for on the secondary market?
What do you guys think of the
Oh,
wood?
by the way, price. Do you know what the price is?
Uh,
Did you look?
No,
So how much, I
nope.
mean, Dave, you're a recent buyer of a GT product.
Yeah,
How much is a new, nicely optioned GT3 Touring?
320,
Okay. So what do
something
you
like that.
think it is? And I think this one comes nicely optioned. I don't know if they come with ceramics. And by the way, what I'm going to give you is a starting point, so I think you can add more to it. But what do you think the starting price is going to be?
I mean, it has to be in the threes. They obviously could sell for a hell of a lot more than that. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with greed, and I'm gonna go with only making 50 of them. So I'm gonna go start point at 475.
Yeah,
They're
I mean,
making
I would think
90.
that would, how
90.
much?
Yeah, 90, not 50.
90, well, 89 because Mark gets the
Yeah.
first one.
So you're going to
Okay.
tell us what's the big reveal
Yeah.
price,
Do
Paul?
you know the
Three
answer?
hundred eighty-seven thousand starting.
Yeah.
So that's before you add ceramics. So do you think they're going to do something similar where if you get are the one of the lucky people who, first of all, I want to see who gets these. What kind of Porsche blood do you have to, bleed to get the honor of getting one? And then do you have to lease it like the STs? Are they going to do something to keep people from
Not that
flipping
few of
them?
them, but that's based on the touring, not on the ST, I assume.
Yep, it's a GT3 touring mechanically exactly the same. No difference. It's
And
a
that's the
special
base,
color.
Paul? How
What's
much
that?
did you say again? The base was three.
$387,000 base.
Why would
That's
that car
base.
fail? Why would that car fail?
It won't. It
Why,
won't.
why
No,
would it?
totally won't.
Well, it could.
The, the only reason it would fail is if they made too many of them.
Okay, so would you rather have that or an ST? If that ends up basically being ST pricing, what would you rather have?
Uh,
That's the reason it would fail. If basically the market makes it too expensive.
it yes, you're right. If it's too expensive, but in the end, I think what would make it fail is if they keep doing this. Like
They're
if
going to, of course. They're going to come out with
yeah.
a Kramer version.
So, but what I don't understand is
It's gonna be
why.
rusty and cranky.
But all of these limited editions, like the Sport Classic, the Anniversary editions, they're always based off like the best one below the GT3, the GTS models.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is why did they do this on a GT3? They don't need to sell more GT3s. Tourings are highly sought after. I
But they
just,
just added 100 grand to the bottom line. I mean,
At least.
yep.
yeah. I mean, if assuming that's a straight GT3 not two, I mean that thing's up $100,000 over its original base price on a touring.
Yeah.
Nicely optioned. I mean, but that's all. I mean, that's a margin game right there for sure. And I
But
think
if
they'll
it's a margin
succeed
game, why only make 90? I mean, make
because that's how
911.
you get more than you're
They're
going to flood
probably
the
already
market. And
maybe from the sense that they're probably already pre-allocated. They're probably giving them to basically who they feel their 90 or 90 best customers are around the world. And that's basically what it is. They're showing, appreciation to the people that have been supporting them through thick and thin, I would imagine.
My
Other than that, I mean, they're not making enough and they could sell a crap ton more of them.
My only thought is, when did you guys go to the last Rensport reunion,
Mhm,
23 Rensport reunion 7 in Monterey?
Yes.
Do you
mhm.
remember they had that huge Sunderwitch display,
Yep.
really big? And
Yep.
my only thing is, this was basically Sunderwitch Flex. Look what we can do. And my only, and going to Germany and recently visiting, how big that department has grown to physically and how big they're planning on growing to. And I'm wondering if this is their beginning of saying, hey, we want more exclusive stuff. We're
Probably.
ready to do more of this. And maybe that's their money game is all of a sudden every single GT product coming through the assembly line is getting rerouted to the Sunderwitch department and getting another $50,000 of, you know, truffle brown leather. You know,
Porsche's unlike Ferraris, frankly, and I can't even think of any other brand. You actually, if you don't make it really strange, which they won't let you, you get your money back on that stuff. Whereas if you walk into the Ferrari dealership and you spend huge amount of money on your Ferrari, you're gonna lose it for sure. With
yeah.
very few exceptions. So, I mean, yeah, they have all the room to run because people can rationalize overspending on it because they know that the secondary market's gonna not punish them for it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that, there's a part of me, and then there's going to be a bunch of haters for the same reasons. Wow, they're just a money grab. But in the end, the part of me that hates to admit it is I kind of want it
Of course.
because it's beautiful.
it's
It's beautiful.
it is
I mean,
gorgeous.
it's 50th anniversary Sport Classic, they were cool, but this is the first one that I just think tastefully they nailed it. And it is cool. I can taste sort of the sentimentality of his son. He has several sons, and why this one was really involved means that they probably had a special relationship. And how long, Dave, until you can get bolts of that fabric and start doing that on SCs and
I
Carreras?
don't have any idea. It's
Now,
very hard to find some of this stuff. Porsche's very, very tight with it initially, and
somebody will
sometimes
copy
you can
it.
find where the
Someone will
say
copy
again.
it.
Somebody in Italy right now is weaving that, I
Yeah,
promise you.
yeah. You just got to
100%.
find out who.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they'll probably find you, given the reputation you have for Porsche interiors. But
I have
yeah,
Let
to
us
take a
hope.
quick break, but keep going, guys.
no, no, let's do take a quick break. We'll be back in 2 seconds. All right, so Paul, you mentioned you had some special secret hookup inside Porsche and the rest of it. So what world you got to let everyone know. I know you're sitting on some hot Porsche news, at least I hope you are, about what the special limited edition thing is that's coming next. I'm sure your good friend over in Stuttgart leaked something to you about the next special heritage something or another. You're shaking your head in the negative. You're not
He
holding on to
he is
anything.
um he is amazingly good at being tight-lipped. The closest I ever got information out of him was when I told you about the Germany trip, and on the Sunday of Le Mans, the Saturday of Le Mans, when the design and Weissach area was completely empty, we got to drive around it, and he would just point out, "You didn't see that, you didn't see that," and my head's on a swivel because it was some clouded out. Now, some of it was electric stuff that I think got shelved. Some of it, you know how you see these mocked up cars? It has a wing. Um, I think some of the things I saw was what's going to be the new GT2 RS, which I think
Mhm.
will be a slant nose.
Yeah,
Um, you know, at Rennsport reunion, I think it was six when the 935 came out. And the biggest heartbreak about that was it wasn't for the street. It was a freaking race car.
but man, was that
And
cool.
it was
It was a
very
good looking
cool.
car.
It was very cool, and I remember talking to Jeff Sword about it because he drove the Road Scholars one at Pikes Peak, and he just said it was one of the most tame, easy, super fast race cars to drive.
Like a
But
Corvette, like a
what's
ZR1,
that?
like a ZR1.
Yeah,
Completely
just
unlike a
like that.
ZR1. And so it was just but outside of that Pikes Peak experience, when was the last time you saw, I don't know what the 935s did. Were they just weekend track toys? You never see them. And if they do the GT2 RS as a 935 really looking thing that's on the street, granted there will be a handful of them. Most people, mere mortals, will never get them, but we will see them.
The
They will
world will
show up.
go crazy.
It will
The
go
Porsche
crazy.
world, the car world will go crazy. It
Yep.
really will. And Porsche's teed themselves up so perfectly, making, frankly, you said something last week, which was really funny. I'd never heard the term before. R- Lambo Bros or something. We were talking about
Lambros.
Lambros,
Lambros.
Lambros.
yeah. How the like, well, but the GT3 RS has become a car that's, sought after by the Instagram generation. And so that, if Porsche starts leveraging that, they're going to be completely on a different trajectory.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about do you have any opinion or have you heard anything about the supposed GT3 touring cabriolet?
I mean, isn't that a speedster? Is
Well, I think there's going to be both a Speedster and a Cabriolet. The Speedster will be limited edition. The Speedster will have all the, this is the that's, but and a raked windshield and, whoever knows what else. What do you think, Dave? Have you heard anything or have any opinions?
I've not heard anything. Obviously, I only the stuff that we talked about a few episodes ago. I guess the question would be it's just another variant. So if you do a Speedster GT3 Touring, right, convertible version, they'll sell the shit out of it. It'll
Well,
be they'll
it would be a Cabriolet GT3, which basically
Yep,
would be a touring, and then there'll be
yep.
the Speedster, which will be the numbered car that's super hard to get. That would be, I would do that if I were Porsche. I'm not saying I
I
would.
would just not call it. That's fine, but I wouldn't call it that. You know what I would call it? The Roadster.
Yeah, that's really freaking a good idea because that goes all the way back to 356s. That's a
Yep.
great idea. Put a back
Why
seat in.
wouldn't you call it Speedster, Paul? Why wouldn't you call it that?
Well, no, no, you're gonna have a speedster. I just a GT3 Cabriolet. It's like contradictory. Race car cruiser. Like
Aren't
which is
Formula
it?
hold on.
Eh,
Aren't Formula One cars roofless?
Yeah, they're open wheeled too. They're just scarcity. They have no parts to them. They're the most limited they can for weight and aero.
Well,
But
but
a
where's
G
you're saying sports cars can't be convertibles. I don't even see
No,
how.
no, but the GT3 is positioned as a track car that's
Yeah.
for the street. And the one thing we know about, when was the last time you watched Le Mans with GT class with a convertible?
with
Uh,
a roll bar, nice
Even a
roll bar.
Targa. Even maybe in the 70s. I don't even know if they did Targas. I mean, I've seen guys with Targas at track days, but like you look at old footage, I mean, outside of the prototypes, those are different things. But when you look at the GT classes, GT3, GT2, they're all coupes. And so to me, fine, make it, make more money. The more money you make, the more cars you can offer people down the line, for different levels of buyers.
Porsche is so
But
screwed right now because the stupid politicians, sorry, I can't avoid it, in Germany and Europe has screwed the manufacturers to the extent by forcing these stupid electric car mandates down them and got them completely misaligned with what their customer base wanted. And you got to think about Porsche in Germany has been having to play by these, rules being made by these guys in Brussels, making these cars that nobody wants to buy. And all the time, all the while, China is essentially creating really phenomenal electric car products. And I don't know if we talked about it last week or I just talked about it with you guys on WhatsApp. I was really joyful to read that Germany in particular is coming around to the realization because I guess there's a lot of public-private ownership with Volkswagen Group between if it's even with the German government owns part of it, I guess, something like that. Long story short is they're fearful of the massive layoffs that would happen if Porsche had to completely, scrap their ICE made cars. And so what appears to me to be happening is that there's going to be electric cars, which are going to be dominated by China and maybe some outliers. And then the ICE cars are going to come back. Look, what all of a sudden there's an ICE new 718 replacement. All of a sudden, all these hypercar electric cars are being scrapped. It seems to me like the way that these companies are going to segment themselves are going to be ICE cars, electric cars, and that means that the Germans, our beloved brand Porsche is going to be able to go back and doing what they do the best of. And I hope that's true. And they're
yeah,
going to keep on pushing these stupid, mandates way off into the future to the extent that they're not even going to matter anymore. Otherwise, people are going to lose their jobs.
no, and what becomes abundantly clear when you go to Germany, the automotive industry is everything to that
Everything.
country.
And in
And
Italy.
Volkswagen is the largest company, like over any power company, everything. Volkswagen is the largest provider, and Mercedes is massive. And I remember it beginning when there was going to be tariffs, it terrified the Germans because their whole industry, their whole economy is based on this product that's desired. And our market is, I don't know what we consume, but I would say between China and the United States, or at least North America, that's got to be over 50% of their market for sure. So I think ultimately, whatever the world wants to do, manufacturers in Germany have to look at America. They can't deny it. And if we still demand ICE cars for our sports
The
cars,
world want electric cars, or were this the pinheads telling us that that's what we should buy? Did we really want those damn things, or are people just telling us what we should want? Which is the answer?
I think there's no black or white. It's a little bit of both. I mean, just to
Mm,
give you, I think to give you an example, like I don't hate electric cars, and I think for appliances, especially in where I live in cities, like last night, my mom has a Mercedes SUV plug-in hybrid, and I drove it last night in electric mode. It was great in traffic, getting around. It was great. I think in the end, going back, 10, 20, 30 years from now, we're going to look at these plug-in hybrids and go, what were we thinking? Like we've now made it overly complicated, two motors. Like, why couldn't we choose? And we talked about this before the podcast. We are right now in this struggle that existed over a century ago, which is which way are the auto manufacturers going to go? I think back then, just like today, there's politics involved. I think big oil really pushed the industry to go a certain way, just like the tire manufacturers
okay,
pushed Los Angeles to
let,
not have mass
let's have this
transit.
debate. Who is the biggest investor? What country? Saudi Aramco is the answer into energy being made of something other than oil. They are. The Saudis and the Middle Eastern countries are investing in all of that stuff. So just immediately go to the talking point that big oil was trying to push us away from electric cars. Who is trying to push us towards electric cars? And where do electric cars make their energy? We're going to start getting political and piss people
Yeah.
off. But the truth is that I'm so happy, Paul and David, that we're going to see
Yeah.
GT3s, GT3 RSs. We're going to see powered cars come back. And then the manufacturers, why do you think Porsche has been holding the line on the 4 liter with 500 horsepower forever? Because they probably were fearful that how much relevancy that thing was going to have 10 years from now. Now they're going to hopefully maybe come up with a 4.2 liter or 4.4 liter.
But also, I mean, I think from anything that perceived as sports car, okay, electric cars, we don't want electric sports cars, and it has this negative impact. But in the end, there is technology. Look what Porsche's doing with the new turbo, the Turbo S, the GTS. They're using electric technology to actually make these sports cars even more engaging, filling torque fill, making the shifts faster, doing things that aren't necessarily about, oh, let's drive in electric mode, but let's just make the performance even more, unique and keep a six-cylinder 4-liter engine and
Why
add
do you
power a
think
different way.
if you think about that though, an electric sports car is probably just forget the power plant for a minute. It's a better car. It's gonna accelerate faster, tons of torque. Its center of gravity is going to be extremely low because you got all the weight from the battery sitting down on the car. I'm sure these cars perform extremely well. So the idea that we don't want an
Mm,
electric sports car is much more akin to the idea of we have a hard time letting go of the ice stuff. The
The
just our
subjective word is the word better, right?
well, but the one problem electric sports cars have against them is weight. And eventually, battery technology will get better, and that may be resolved to some degree. But ultimately,
I,
weight's the
I
killer.
don't think that's the one problem. They can overcome weight. Obviously, if you're a sports car, you're going to feel it
sure,
no matter how much power you have, but it's the touch points, it's the interaction. It's just like the same reason people like manual transmissions. It's one of the ways you connect with the machine. An
yep.
electric car moves you further and further and further away from all of that. That's the thing ultimately I think people are rejecting. I mean, intuitively they're rejecting it. From a I think it's something for all of us to celebrate and really appreciate the fact that finally we might have actually some significant money going back into developing cars that are other than electric. They're not the panacea that we were all promised.
Yeah,
They're just not. So you guys ready to go on to the next topic?
You
absolutely.
got it.
All right, so this is not something I know shit about, so you guys are gonna have to talk about this. There, we had quite a number of comments about nice comments, respectful comments, but people that were on one side or the other of bring a trailer. I didn't realize there were two sides to bring a trailer. I like going to bring a trailer. That's my one side. But there were a lot of people that had differing opinions on that. David, do you want to start out with this and kind of like voicing some of the things that were being sent to us, emails and whatnot?
I think the stuff that people
We can read
touched
something.
about.
Do
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul, do
Sorry.
you have something we can read? Sorry, David.
I
Oh,
I
go
don't
ahead.
th- I don't think I pulled that comment down. I'm trying to think of
I think
on
I
the
dropped it in the WhatsApp group.
Well, I
okay.
remember the gist of the comment was it's great for sellers, it's terrible for buyers. I mean,
That
that
was
was
it.
kind of the gist of the comment.
Well, and he further went on to say he asked, I think us specifically, and people who've done bring a trailer listings, how do you keep people from sabotaging the auction for one reason or another?
I think that's
You
a
know, sort
different
of,
one, but that was interesting too. So people shit talking people's cars that are for sale, and that then follows the VIN number forever, whether the
yep,
comments were valid or not. And I did have sympathy for the seller on that one,
I
but
did.
yeah.
I mean,
So
and they do it for a variety of reasons. Some of it's just spite, some of it's ignorance because they're a know-it-all and they want to flex their knowledge muscle and show how important they are. And these are the people who have a million comments but never bid or buy one
Never buy
thing.
anything.
Some of it is just they hate the seller, they feel wronged by the seller, and they're going to take it out there. And some of it, which I think is the most nefarious, is they want to buy the car and they're going to, shit talk it to get the price down
you guys
so
are
they can
talking
buy it cheaper.
generalities. I want to drill down because we're no bullshit on this podcast. You guys on WhatsApp were citing some more specific things. So I want you to say what your observations are, if not observations, what you've heard or experienced as far as the people that are acting nefariously.
Well, Dave, you've done some more bring a trailer auctions than I have. I stay away from it. I don't, I'm
I
very
mean,
fortunate I don't have to use it. And maybe
yeah,
there's a day I will have to use online auctions. But what you've experienced and I've seen many sellers experience, I don't want any part of. And ultimately, I think you can really hurt some really great cars permanently, unfortunately, because
yeah.
they'll have the scarlet letter attached to their VIN.
But I think that the issue that we're talking about overall is just the concept of trolls in general and people that are trying to blow these auctions up for no good reasons. I've seen it work, both ways. I've watched cars. I think one of the examples I put up in our group chat is a 74T. I wish I had a picture of it here. That excuse me, a 74 Targa that transacted four times on Bring a Trailer. And the first two times it transacted in the 20s, mid 20s. Then it sold again in the 50s. And I would have sworn that this car was going to take a dive, it wasn't going to do well. It's basically was the only thing about this car that was special was that it was Gemini blue. It was a good color. But at the end of the day, the car did, I was shocked. The car did 75 on this last go around.
Didn't
And
it get improved though of every subsequent
yeah, it
sale?
did get improved. The car
Yeah,
did get improved along the way, but sometimes I think that still hangs them up, right? I mean, it
Right.
wasn't this car was not some trailer queen car. This was a driver car all the way, and we had the car here in the shop, and I was really surprised at that final number. I thought it was a very strong number for that car, and I attribute it to the color. I mean, there was good comments, there was bad comments. There were people that were thinking that the car had been far more improved along the way than it was. But at the end of the day, my friend who's the seller of this car called me and said, I've serviced it. I know the car. I looked at the car. Hey, would you mind putting up a comment? So I put up a comment on it and I said, it's the car. I wasn't overstating what this car was. I just thought the car was kind of a gentleman's driver car. It was a good condition car that ran well, looked decent, didn't look perfect, far from perfect. So I thought that was a good outcome, good result in that particular car. And there are some. I'm deciding right now the car I have over my shoulder, this yellow car. I've got so many people interested in this car, but there's no money on it yet. I'm I submitted to bring a trailer yesterday, and I submitted it with a number that I thought was a reasonable reserve for this car. Now they're, of course, like they always do, they're trying to negotiate me down
Hmm.
because they got to make sure that this car sells because that's when they make their true commission. Otherwise they're going to get their $100 listing fee and that's it. So they don't want to burn a spot with a high reserve that the car won't hit. But I think this car does extremely well based on condition, based on the information that we have on the work that was done on the car and all that sort of stuff. I think this car does better than the number they've countered with so far. So we'll see where that goes. And I think that's kind of a problem with Bring a Trailer too. And when I say it's one of the challenges, it's their business. I get it. They want to make sure that the car sells. So the lower the reserve, the more likely the car is going to sell. It's like any other auction site or any in-person auction. In this case, though, I think, Bring a Trailer sometimes will try to push down the number, and maybe they shouldn't. So,
I mean,
you know,
well, and you mentioned something talking about the Gemini Blue car. I wonder if that car had never been on Bring a Trailer, it had just quietly sold as it was, improved, improved, improved. And so the last time it was on the when it was finally on Bring a Trailer, it was the most improved it had been, and no one knew any history of it. Would it have sold for more than 75,000? Was that number what I call an auction anchor, where there's this human nature. We don't want to, no one wants to feel like they overpaid. No one wants to feel like they get duped. I was listening to a podcast with Doug DeMuro, and he talked about this. He's like, the worst thing people could do on an online auction, cars and bids, bring a trailer, whatever, is when they go, the reserve is off. And he goes, guaranteed kills all bidding. And it's sure enough, when you look at when someone says reserve is off, the next bid, that's it. There's no more bids because everyone feels at that point they're overpaying. And
the
even
guy
if
got the money he wanted, and
and yeah, and
he's
even if the brain says, "Hey, this is still a good value. It's a good value at $20,000 more." There's this human nature, regardless of your income, what you think the value is. You don't want to feel like the guy who got duped. You don't want to feel like the guy who overpaid. And suddenly, you'll see these cars that have improved. Like a 964 that sells in 2012, and then it sells again in 16, then it sells in 21, and you're like, and I look at him like that car should be 40 grand more, but people saw it sell for half the price. Like, ooh, I'm not going to be the guy.
yeah.
It only sold for 40 grand back then because something was wrong. And I'm like, no, because the market didn't care about the car.
Well,
And
there is
So
a
how do you
glitch.
feel though, Paul, when it's a no reserve auction right from the get,
I
right?
mean,
So
in my
there's
opinion, if you're going to sell a car, and this takes huevos, which I don't have, and which is why I don't do it. If you're going to sell a car in an auction format, you do everything you can to position it the best way possible in terms of the car, the presentation. When the auction lists it, you do all your homework and you let it fly. And you do all your promotion outside of it, get people in. You see some of these big partners of Bring a Trailer doing their own side promotion, social media. You do everything you can to scream that this car is available, no reserve, someone's getting it. And I've done a couple in-person auctions. I don't have the taste for it. I think three bring a trailer auctions, not Porsches. I didn't want to do any of them. The client wanted to do them, and those were reserve auctions, and I still didn't want to do them. And I just not an auction person,
So
you
did
know.
you guys know if something doesn't sell on Bring a Trailer that they will allow the buyer and the seller to communicate and they can do a deal outside of Bring a Trailer and not have to pay a Bring a Trailer fee?
They used to be that way. I think they allow them to do because you'll see it where it doesn't meet the reserve and then it says sold afterwards. And I think Bring a Trailer because P Car Market was doing this with Deal Tank and some other stuff. I think they finally realized we're missing out on
But
commission.
how would they track that? Just not allowing people to communicate?
They're only allowing the top bidder to
Oh,
communicate.
that's what
And
I meant though.
so
Yeah.
when that bidder communicates before, yes, the top bidder, they connected them. If they did a deal, Bring a Trailer didn't get a fee. I think now they're realizing they're leaving too much money on the table. I think they're still getting a fee if
Because
that
I
happens.
think what was actually happening, this is my theory, because I saw it on some more expensive cars in particular, that they actually weren't intentionally, the buyer and the seller had been communicating outside of BAT and deciding not to basically thing so they could do the deal outside of BAT and save the fees. But we'll see. If you guys know about that, let us know. I hadn't heard what Paul
Fees, I
said.
mean, granted, the fee's like $7,500 max now at this point. So, I mean, it depends on the car, of course, whether or not it's going to really be relevant.
Right.
Bring a trailer will often, if you're right on the fringe of reserve, they will do a make good so that if you're close enough, they will make the deal happen and take the commission cut on their side
Really? I didn't
just to
know
make a
Oh
that.
deal
yeah,
happen.
which I've had a couple clients
Wow.
burned because they didn't really understand that. I had one client specifically with RS America, and I can't remember exact numbers. They told the seller this car should sell for 120, let's say, but the reserve's going to be 100. And they're like, it's funny how humans hear what they want to hear. He just heard 120. He didn't
Right.
realize till way in the auction that the car, if it bid to 100, it was sold. And this was a car, by the way, that he asked me if I would sell. And I told him specifically that it could sell for this. And he's like, well, I can't, I got a net over 110. And I go, well, you may not. And then when I saw that on there and I was like, oh man, I wouldn't know what reserve they did. I don't know. I can't say for sure, but I have a feeling someone, as we see, helped bid it to 97.5.
Chandelier bidding.
Chandelier bidding. But
Happens all
someone
the time.
maybe in his circle, knowing that there's a $100,000 reserve. And like Dave said, sold. And he, pooped his pants. Because guess what? Not only did his car sell for 100 grand, so the fee would have been, let's say, 4,500. Bring a Trailer realized, hey, we'll just, we'll cut off $2,500 at the
Yep.
4,500. That's better than a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. We
Right.
would have got nothing. And now,
We
not only, I have a feeling he sold it for less, he had to pay $2,500 to bring a trailer. Like it was, I remember seeing him at an event and I didn't realize exactly what had gone on because I just said, hey, how did it go? I wasn't trying to be like an asshole. I think he took it that way. He was
We
bitter and
should tell
angry.
them what chandelier bidding is. And we talked about this actually as one
Yeah.
of our first podcasts this
Sure.
year. Is basically chandelier bidding is where there's usually the auctioneer. I got a phone bidder. No, you don't. What they're doing is they're trying to fake bid the car up and get people, usually live audience, to follow along, believing that there's offers coming in. And so the concept is there's the chandelier in the big hall where all the auction is going off, and the guy running the auction, auctioneer is pointing at the chandelier. That's where the joke comes
Yeah.
from. But it's
I got 50,000 from the ficus in the corner.
exactly, but it's legal, and you can actually
It
see
is.
it happening at these big auctions. If you sit in the back of the room, especially if there's not a lot of people in there, and you see the auctioneer pointing this direction, and there's nobody over there, or there's certainly no, it's a couple old ladies that are there doing their knitting. You know for sure they're not bidding on a 64 big block, right? Those types of things. But
Well,
yeah,
what they're smart though now, they go to the people, those that bank of people sitting on the phones.
yeah,
We
of
got a phone
course.
bidder, like you don't even know. In the and
Internet.
yeah,
Yes.
and Tim, if you remember when we were having this conversation, you and I were both like, this is BS. This is shady crap. Now, our colleague Greg, who was in the auction world, he did convert me because I think to some degree, in the right circumstance, I'm still not a fan of it. It preserves the value because let's say there's sometimes something just misses. A GT3 comes up for auction and it looks to be all the part. But if you really dig into it, the engine was replaced. It went back into Laguna Seca corkscrew. It was just an effed up car. And so suddenly this GT3 goes for 40% under market. And no one, and then as that time goes on, no one looks at like, why was it 40? They just go, oh, and all of a sudden the market, your GT3, the next one coming up from auction, pays a price. So I think to some degree it does help preserve the market. We have been personally a victim of chandelier bidding where it was, I thought, more nefarious, where the auction house wasn't interested at selling it at the auction that we were selling it at. They wanted it to be at Monterey. And they
Well,
basically
it's
made
worse than
it,
that, right? I mean, there
Oh,
was a rumor going around that the Jerry Seinfeld Porsche 917, I think it was, that sold was supposedly bought by an insider. In essence, it didn't sell in a public sale in the traditional sense as it was portrayed to. So, but we don't need to talk about that because I don't want to get any registered letters.
yeah.
You guys, have we beaten this topic into the ground? You guys ready to move to something more
Yeah,
fun?
let's move on. That was fun
sure.
though.
All right, good. Christmas version of this or that. You've been a very good boy, not you, Kramer. You've been a very good boy this year. Santa is going to bring you one new car this year. The total budget is 130 grand. And yes, it can be a Porsche 911, but I'll be shocked if you guys are, oh, of course, Kramer's going to throw up a 911. All right, so David, you since you've been sitting there patiently, you get to go first.
No worries. I took two cars and I got a third just in case I got crap on any of these two cars.
Wait,
So
can we make it
this
clear this or that is two
is this
cards?
or that.
It's
Yeah,
I
two
two
get it.
cards,
I
Jeff.
cars,
get it.
but then
Okay.
you're saying then we get to vote on which one or some iteration of
You
that.
you guys
Correct.
you guys whoever's presenting, the other two get to choose
Right.
which is the gift for him.
Okay, there you go. We just enhanced the rules. I like it even better.
Excellent, especially if you can actually make it happen.
Yeah,
Now,
if
this
we stick
this
to
is
the
for a
rules.
guy that, I happen to, now own a GT3 RS. So this is not necessarily, this was just me being a good boy. And since Santa was bringing me a new toy, I'm thinking,
Exactly.
what new toy can I get that I could still find that's under $130,000? And I still think, and we've discussed this at length, that a 991.1 GT3, PDK and all, right, is a fantastic car that you can still find. Now they're already creeping up. I mean, the prices, this one was, I think this one went off right under the number here at like 125, 127, something like that. But a 25,000 mile, got the motor upgrade in it. So you got all the
How are those
warranty that kind
still so damn cheap? That doesn't
The
even make
it's
sense.
it's what I
it's the
call the
nonsense of
IMS
same idea.
postulate.
But
Same
that's
idea.
nuts. I didn't know they were that cheap. Holy crap.
The
Yeah,
people are
you,
so afraid of that motor. And I just
but
wonder,
they
like,
shouldn't be.
if you look at Porsche generations, mid-year 911s, how long did people just crap on mid-year 911s because of the motor? 30 years later.
Yeah.
And then what was the next victim? Then you had 996 with the IMS sparing, and then you have 997 with bore scoring. And as the internet has helped proliferate more of this sort of scare tactics, the 991.1 GT3 sadly is in the crosshairs of every forum group that wants to, for whatever reason, eat their young and light the thing on fire. And like Dave said, it is an amazing car. And I look at it, I'm like, a 997 is more expensive, zero point 0.1 or zero point 0.2.
A lot more.
It is the only thing cheaper is a 996 GT3 and barely,
Barely cheaper,
barely,
right?
maybe the same price. A 25,000 mile one's probably the same price.
Kramer, what
And
would you
they
rather have?
replaced
That blue car or
they,
996 GT3? What would you rather have? You have a
996
996
GT3.
GT3.
Me,
I
this
I
one.
mean,
Hey
you're
man,
asking me.
this is my this or that here.
All
Whose
right,
car
Okay,
are we
sorry.
talking about here?
Sorry.
Dave,
You're
you're
right.
not here for it.
Seriously, I'm getting run over
No,
here.
I'm excited about your choice, Dave, because I think it's a
Okay,
great.
that's choice one.
You nailed it.
Choice two was actually, I'm gonna go this choice two this time, just to make it a little bit more interesting. But
You got me excited.
this
I
was choice
apologize.
this was choice two. This is a 66
Double cab,
VW bus.
the double
For
cab.
those that,
Yep.
it's a
Yeah,
double cab.
sweet.
This was near me. This car sold earlier this year. I want to say it sold for about $43,000. So this is a much cheaper this or that. But I just looked at this car. It was nicely restored. It's an original. It's not a Brazilian market car. Not that that really bothers me at all. But I just thought this was the ultimate cool shop truck. If I want something that's a gift that Santa is bringing me under the tree, if it was red, it would be better. but I will, I'll start with this because I think of the two cars, this would make a really cool shop truck to run around town. And those are my two choices. I think it's going to be an easy pick for you two gentlemen to decide which one you'd like, but
I could tell you which one I'm
that's
going to
my
pick.
choice.
I'll,
Which
I'm
one you
I,
pick?
you go last. I'm gonna change my tune. I'd buy the Volkswagen.
I agree with Tim.
Yep.
And my
Oh my
reason is
gosh.
number one, you got a GT3RS. I mean, that's like having two scoops of different versions of vanilla ice cream. I mean, and plus, Dave, you've got that would be two automatics. You need a manual transmission car. And
Oh, I
by the
got plenty of
way,
those.
you drive around in North Carolina in a GT3, a GT3RS. I, who cares? You drive around in a
Yeah.
double cab, instant cool. You could be the most uncool guy in the world. And I mean, do they come with a Labrador? They come with a dog, right? You get a dog?
Hopefully,
But
maybe
those things are
more of a
especially cool. Honestly, those double cabs are especially cool.
Hey,
Freaking pickup
you've
throw a
had a
truck.
throw a
bus, right, Tim? You've had a bus.
I
Have
have
you?
one. No, no,
You
I
have a
have.
yeah.
bus.
Yeah, I have
I
a
mean, Dave, have you had a bus or driven a
I
bus?
have
I
actually.
mean,
Yeah, I've had
this
a
is just
'67 split window. Yeah,
when you get over that steering wheel, it is not even slow car fast. It's just like you just vibe. I mean, and then you realize that your whole front part of your whole legs are your bumpers, and you're gonna probably die if you hit like a chihuahua. But ultimately,
definitely got
I
to
think
upgrade the
buses are
motors in
cool.
these things. They're not great on the highway for sure. Like 60th miles an hour
or
is
the
about as good as you
brakes.
get. But you put a nice little 2 liter in there, little 2 liter Porsche motor in that thing. Oh, what a ripper! That would be so much fun. That's gonna be
So what
somewhere
do
in
you what
there.
do you
In
what do you want, Dave?
Say
Let's
again.
just say let's just say there's no dollar value. You get that of the GT3, and when you're done with it, whenever that is, a year, 10 years, 100 years, you give it back. There's no residual value. There's no selling value. It's just like what do you get, and there's no maintenance. It just is what it is as long as you want to own it. What would you choose?
Of those two, I would take the bus right now.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I would take the bus too. If
You get to stay
if
on the
those are the
podcast for
rules that
another
you've
week.
engaged me,
You're on the
because
show for another week. You've earned the right.
oh, thank God, I've not been voted off the island here with
No.
the the tribe has spoken here.
Yeah.
No, but the Volkswagen definitely is cooler. I mean, it's just more
Cool.
fun. Yeah. Yeah, we're all dorks basically. By the way, I put up a picture. So that is a Vanagon. I know you guys don't know what this is. A Vanagon B32. It was the van that Porsche made. It had the 3.2 liter in it, the whole thing. So we built a tribute, if you want to call it that, and ours has got the 1.8 T in it. It's got the same wheels. It's red, David. It's the Karat version. It's got really, I bought it on Bring a Trailer back in, I don't remember how many years ago. I just restored it slowly. New air conditioning system, new electrical system, new suspension, new brakes. It's actually lowered like this one is, lowered to the Porsche specs. Chipped it, 250 horsepower, put a manual transmission in it. So all the things. And yeah, and it's sitting
They're
there
cool.
and I don't drive it.
I mean, I almost thought at one point, you know how one of my lust cars is the Volkswagen Rabbit that's been split in the middle with the whole 928 we've talked about
Yeah.
before.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
kind of would love a collection of these sort of bastard children from major manufacturers, whether they're hiding it or it's just a passion project. Like, we Porsche built these Volkswagen bus 964 things, the Rabbit. I'll bet you there's a whole collection of different manufacturers that have hidden other cars inside of them. I would love. Can you imagine if you had a collection like that? That would be pretty fun.
It
It
would.
would be.
All
Yeah.
right, I'll go next. I'll be quick. So we have this, which is I'm trying to remember what year it is. 1990 Porsche Carrera 2 Targa, and this is from Ryan Friedman Motor Cars. Viola metallic. I think it has a white interior. Yeah, here, do it like this. A Targa. So there's that. I think it had 50,000 miles on it. It was right in the sweet spot as far as
Wait, is it a Euro car?
yeah.
It
And
is. Yeah.
it looks like a 92, a later one. It's got the aero mirrors, the cup wheels.
You can click on that Ryan Friedman link and you can fill in the blanks while I pull up my next one. So
Yeah.
it's that.
84K miles. Black leather interior, not white,
Oh, you're
but
right. Here's
nice.
the interior.
Yep. Yep.
My least
My
favorite
least
steering
favorite
wheel.
steering wheel. Yeah,
Mine
I hate
too.
that wheel.
My
Yep.
I
least favorite
freaking
steering
hate
wheel.
that steering wheel.
But the
It's a
car's
993 RS steering wheel for those listening.
right.
Yes.
But
Little
there it
three
is.
spoke
It's
number.
and so why that one? Obviously, it's weird. It's not something I'd necessarily choose if or but Santa's bringing it, and the kid could fit in the back. She's small, and so
Perfect.
this would be a fun little family sports car, which all of my other little fun cars are two-seaters. All right, or this, which I have a feeling you guys will prefer, and
What
that
color
Okay, I
is
got to
that?
find that
What
one.
color? It's a
This,
991.1, right?
yep.
And what color
uh,
is that?
What's the red called? Can one of you guys click on that link?
oh God, your link didn't work on this one, Tim. When I
Just
clicked it.
hold on a second. Well,
You can
hang
cut and paste and put it into a browser. But so anyway, these are both basically the same price. So one is a coupe, one is a Targa, one is a 991, the other is a 990 964, and they're both manuals and they're both basically PTS colors.
yeah, I'm trying to think. It was a color that came at the 991 is a 996 color, and it's sort of an orangish red metallic.
It's beautiful.
I tried to open link to it, didn't. It's a really cool color, and uh, it's killing me with
I
the
got it. I pulled it up. All right, so
okay.
this one is 99,000. The other one was 129,000, so I'm going to give myself a $30,000 budget to fix things. It is called Amaranth Red Metallic.
No, that
And
color I haven't heard
Okay.
of. It's cool. It's kind of an orangey red.
yeah, I'm going to cut and paste it so you guys can it's Amaranth Red Metallic. Yeah. The only thing
All
I
right.
didn't like about this one is that tan interior, which is, I mean, tan carpet, which is never great, but there you go. So
Dave will change it for you.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
we can
know,
fix that.
exactly.
No worries.
So those are both options, and they're both basically one's 100, the other's 130 or 125 or whatnot. So what do you guys think?
I'll go.
Yeah, go.
I like the 964, obviously. Now, as much as it's a Targa, but I think it's again, the color's fantastic. It's a Euro car. It's a nice. I mean, that's a nice piece,
It,
and
it's beautiful.
And it
yeah,
is beautiful, but Dave, think about this. The beginning of the show, the people couldn't listen. If we ever have a Patreon, maybe they would have seen this. But Tim was wearing his wife beater shirt,
yeah, I saw that
before he was ready to dress up. And he imagine him on the island circling with Ricky Martin in his wife beater
yeah,
shirt
yeah.
and the whole
In
family
this
in the
car,
car.
in
It's
this
it's the
car, right?
purple
The
one.
purple
It's
car.
perfect. It is
Oh, okay.
Puerto Rico purple.
That
Okay.
is total. That's the car you have in Puerto Rico. That's not
Well,
that's the car for sure. It's
Yeah.
the
okay. Yes,
island
I'm going to
vibe.
agree with you, even though you're trying to be sarcastic. But you know where else that would really work? It's anywhere on planet Earth because it's badass.
It is it is actually a cool car. And as much as I love 991.1s, I think that is the most interesting car. And
Of the two for
964
sure.
Targas are so rare. And if it really came in that color, which it makes sense, it's a rest of world car. It's what was the price of it? It was under 130. It
Yeah,
seems to me
129 or
it
25.
seems to me cheap. I would dig further in there. It could be an odometer. There might be other things. Obviously, you take the California market, you can't register it in California if it is rest of world. So maybe that's part of it, but seems like a good value. Good choices, Tim.
All right, you're up next, Kramer.
Um, so my love for Carrera T, it's probably the only new Porsche I actually love. And the sad thing is, I think the rest of the world loves them and they are getting harder to find. I was shocked when I looked on classic.com. There are so few that have sold in 2025. Bring a Trailer had three total for the whole year of Carrera T's, and I forgot how many they made. I don't think they were limited. They made a couple thousand, but to get a non-sunroof manual is pretty hard. And then if you want to get rid of silver or black or white, just an actual color. This one is Guards Red. It's a 19. It sold in July, which was the most recent Bring a Trailer one. Sold for 112 plus fees, almost 120. It had 49,000 miles. What I liked about it, and this is the most dealers, as we talked about before, Carrera T's were ordered by the dealers on spec. So they would do full leather interior. And really the cool interior was just to do the base, which was this race tex with the red pinstriping. I'm not a huge fan of red gauges, but the car looked
Mhm.
really nice. I think this is one of the best steering wheels the three-spoke steering wheel, which by the way, my source at Porsche is the one who designed that. I think it showed up in the early
Everybody
2000s.
and their brother knows who you're talking about if
Yeah,
they watch the podcast or are looking at your pictures. It's not
exactly.
a freaking big secret.
Anyway, so no, not low miles. I mean, this is the sad thing. 50,000 miles and it sold for almost 120 grand, which hurts me because as much as I love this, if this was a 991.1, same miles, same color, a manual, base Carrera, or even an S, it would probably be 40 to 50% that price.
I'm just going to make a comment. I'm not trying to step on your toes here,
Yep.
but between that car and David's GT3 from the same generation for the same price, something's not right there.
I agree.
Well, one's a manual.
And his is a point 0.1 versus a point 0.2 because if his was a point 0.2, an 18 or
We're
19,
talking about a GT3 from the same generation, a
right.
991.1 versus the base 911, or now in resale wise, selling for the same money. That doesn't make sense.
I agree. Like I said, these cars should be, under 100,000.
For sure.
And and then you get to the point, as much as I love these cars, when you're driving it, is this $120,000 driving experience where David's car is $125,000, $130,000 driving experience. So anyway, I love these. It kills me to know that they are unfortunately jumped the shark. I don't know if they'll ever be cheaper. They've kind of become this modern day cult. They're right up there with the Carrera, with the 991.2 GT3 Touring. They're just kind of this. They're always going to be more, always going to be more, like wide body 993s. But this car sold yesterday, and
I
I
saw
tell
that one.
you, I just I fell in
Didn't
love
sell,
with this
Paul. It didn't
car.
sell.
It didn't
Well,
sell.
It
did
it,
you?
it
It didn't
didn't
sell.
sell.
This is
Let's say
so.
what it is. Let them
It
know.
is a 1983, a 1980 911 SC with the engine basically built into a 3.2, so it's a short stroke 3.2, which is a more peppy version, and it's built to be a Dutch police car. It's not one of the real Dutch police cars. Uh, they spent $185,000 building this. I don't think that included the car. That was the build. And when you dug into the pictures,
That's
this
nutty.
this car was spectacular. And they got every detail right. I mean, even down, if you could see the switches where the radio would go, they're just like they got, I don't even know where some of these switches exist. They even got in the back, this was the emergency tray, which had the helmets. And for most people who don't understand Dutch police cars, I don't know how it happened, but someone in the Dutch royal family, going back to the 356 era, thought it would be a great idea for whatever reason. Maybe they just wanted to be closer to Porsche, get a better allocation. They decided to start ordering these Dutch police cars, which weren't for chasing criminals. They were mostly for traffic duty. They were like highway patrol, and they were all open cars. They were convertibles, they were Targas, and they were basically used to control traffic. So you could stand up inside. If you look at the back, you had a PA and a microphone, and you could just start barking at people. And then there's the panel right above the license plate lights up, and you can have words. This is going back a ways. The last police car they made, I want to say, was a 964 Targa, which was at Airwater. And and by the way, I love these cars so much that I have mimicked my 944 Turbo S into a Dutch police car, which by the way, they never did a transaxle car. And I think someone in the royal family just said, "Hey,
So,
stop with the Dutch police cars."
well, but the other thing was a lot of cool things about that. You guys are trying to school me on what a perfect rally car is, I think, right there, even though that might be too nice. But
No,
that
that'd
car,
be great.
That'd
that
be
car had
fun.
a ton of really badass original parts on it too, which I love reading about all that
Yeah.
weird stuff. It's so much fun. But
And
what was the no sale on that
it
one,
it
David?
bid to
One oh
101,000,
yeah, 101.
which,
So,
okay, so
but
after fees, that's 106, 107,000.
but take the jib jab off that. Make that as which I wouldn't. But if you were just making a normal white Targa,
It
I
would,
still think that's a good price.
it would, when you looked at the work they did, I mean, that was a fully restored car. Here's the sad thing, Dave. The car started off as Talbot yellow.
Oh, I know. I did. I saw
And I
the
was just kind of
pictures of it.
like, oh,
Oh,
like if you're gonna do
no.
that, do a red or a black,
Any
any
other
other
color.
color,
Pick
not
any other
don't.
color.
But it was, when you look at the restoration, that car, I think if I had it as just a white original white but restored SC Targa, I would sell it for well over 100. I don't know what they want. I think ultimately, if because here's the problem is I started looking up Dutch police cars, what they're actually selling for. Very few change hands. There's a guy in the Netherlands who has like 30 of these, and
Wow.
which is crazy. So,
You'd have him on
so
the show.
he's kind of like the Hunt brothers controlling the market. And that's part of the reason why you see so few. I think the last one I saw was in 2017 at Monterey. There was one that went for 180,000. Today, what a real SC Dutch, which by the way, most of the Dutch police cars were SCs. If an SC Dutch police car came up, maybe it's 250. And so the guy who's going to spend, let's just say that they really would take 150 for the car, which if they got 150, they better run. The guy who's got 150 grand, maybe he'll spend another 100 to get an actual Dutch police car, like one with
Yeah,
history.
but
So,
that for that price is a freaking steal. I'm
oh yeah.
surprised. I'm not surprised the seller didn't take it, honestly. I mean,
Oh no, they can't.
David to do a restoration like that would cost 150 easy.
Two, without a doubt. The question is how good was the car to start? It was, was there any rust and so on? But they did a full, when
No,
you look at the pictures
the
that
car
came
was
with
a
it.
really nice car. And they said that
Yeah,
the
but they
the
stripped it. They stripped it to the tub and repainted it. I mean, they went all the way and did a really, really nice job. Um, I wonder why. I mean, is it just that it's very kind of novelty? Is that the issue? Why didn't it sell?
It could have
I mean,
just
is it
been,
just
I
a
mean, if
certain?
there was a bat and you have those auctions, if they're too long, sometimes that kills them. If they end on the wrong day, that kills them. I mean,
I think here's my opinion because back in 2007 we started building these tribute cars. I think remember Tim, I had the
yeah,
two Safari Martinis, which one of them's coming back up for sale. We did a Jägermeister, we did a Lowenbrow. In the end of the day, a liveried car is really narrows the buyers down. It gets it so segmented and it's such a particular taste. You know, if this car would have just oh god, even if they would have just made I don't know if those are vinyl, but if they just had it just white and this the problem with this is someone's I could see having all the money in the world and hiring someone to do this. It would be a blast. But at the end of the day, if you have the money to do that, how many times are you going to be okay with someone coming up to the show going, "Is that a real Dutch police car?" And what
I
are you
don't,
going to say? You
dude, you
know?
slap an kennel logo on the side of that or a Sunderworks logo on the side of that. You drive it anywhere, everyone's going to look at it. That is the ultimate promotional piece.
Yep.
Super cool.
Especially for that price. I'm shocked that didn't sell. I bet you it will sell privately.
But I think in reality, if someone came to me with this and they had an offer of 130, I think 130 is the number. And my philosophy of that is you take what it costs to build a car, not including the car, and if it's done tastefully and done right, it's typically worth 70% of what it costs to build it to that. And that's if you do something right and tasteful. So if they spent $184,000, building that car, what is that? 184,000 times 70%, 128,800. And by the way, that it's just a ballpark kind of way of doing it, but that math comes out pretty right most of the time.
You know what's funny is back when Casey was on and we had four people, we'd get the shows done quicker, and now it's just three of us, and it's actually taking longer. But yeah, exactly. But you know what I'm thinking is that there's somebody right now stuck on some godforsaken plane, flying to some horrible place where it's cold, and so grateful that we're still yammering on, listening on their earbuds. So grateful they don't have to actually engage with the fact they're stuck in an airport in Minneapolis, Minnesota, or something. So, do you guys want to go to segment six, or do you guys want to? I don't know what your schedules are like.
I mean, I'm fine, but do you want to? Are we doing another show? Is this it for the year?
This is it for the year. I need some time off. Come on. I mean, I love you guys, but I've looked at you enough this year.
I mean, the last segment was sort of,
You
I
want to do
hate
it
New
next
Year's
year?
resolution. Yeah, why don't we do what we're going to do next year, next year?
Okay. Do you want to review any of these? That's fine. Makes sense. I was thinking that too. Do you want to go over any of these listener emails or comments that we didn't? Uh,
Yeah, I mean, I can read some really quickly.
yeah.
I put them in the
But
notes.
let
I
me
still
do a
want to know.
little.
Wait, we don't know what Paul's picked yet. We didn't pick Paul.
Oh,
We didn't get
Oh,
the
all
winner
right. Well,
here.
first of all, you guys pick.
nice
What do
job,
you
David, catching me on that. Go ahead.
Well,
want
we can't leave the audience hanging here for sure. Now, I'm voting for the police car, no question, no question. That's a unique car. That's very cool. The P is
And
basically
by the
still
way,
a
you have to take out
991.
the fact that something might be overvalued, undervalued, because value doesn't matter. It's a gift that I can't return. When I'm done with it, I have to give back. There's no, it's just
You
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 get
have a
this or
twin
that.
of it, so that's got to be because you've got the 944 turbo in the same livery. You have to have the other car. That's without question. End of story. I win. Right.
If I wasn't trying to get back at you for sort of making fun of the fact that I'd be driving around, with Ricky Martin and whatnot, your little comment from 10 minutes ago, I would have given you the better choice, just the Carrera T. But no, I'm going with David, and I'm going to put you in the Dutch police car, and you cannot sell it and you cannot return it. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah.
Honestly,
Good.
I don't lose because I love them both.
That's
But I would
great.
pick personally the Carrera T just because it's different. And then the only way I'm going to get one now is someone gifts it to me because I
You would take the Carrera T over his 991.1 GT3. I don't believe you.
oh for sure. You know
Oh, no
why?
way.
I just don't want I want a manual. That's it. If magically a 991.2 winged manual was 130, you pick that, I'd probably pick that.
What's
But the
the
problem
price
is
difference? What's the price difference between a manual and a
50
PDK?
grand,
50
At
grand.
least.
What would it
Yeah,
cost
I
to
would say
convert?
right now, probably a
75.
GT3.2 is 200 easy all day long.
So what would it cost to convert? Maybe this is a side business for you, David, a
Uh,
PDK 991.1 into a manual.
I don't
I wouldn't even want to try.
it's not like the Ferrari swaps. I mean, just the
Everything.
the electronics you have to
Too many
deal with today.
modules, too many things that have to talk to one another in the car. It would be stupid money. Wouldn't make sense to do.
Yeah.
Copy. All right. Do you guys have any of these? I need to say, if you have not subscribed to the newsletter, please do so. We are turning out a lot of content in addition to the things you hear on the podcast. Make sure you just go to fullthrottletalk.com or click the link below. And if you want to comment or give us some suggestions on show ideas, we obviously take a lot of inspiration from your feedback. You can message us over on our Instagram, or you can just, frankly, when you're subscribed to the newsletter, if you just hit reply, we get those replies, and that's the easiest way to communicate, especially if you want to write something long and overly critical about Kramer, for example. I mean, go for it and just send us back the feedback that way. But was there any, we have so many nice, sweet comments about people really appreciating the fact that we are staying true to our nerddom with regards to some of these really finite topics. Was there anything else that you guys had jump out that we should maybe acknowledge as far as comments?
I definitely have one that was related to listening to one of our episodes back on December 3rd. And in fact, this I think we'll end up building a car with this gentleman. So this could be the first full throttle talk build we're going to do. And we kind of started on this at the beginning, maybe before we started recording. But uh, well, John H. Over the past month, while researching the perfect Porsche to acquire, I came across your company on YouTube. Since then, I have also listened to Full Throttle Talk podcast. It was the December 3rd episode when the conversation turned to building a full throttle hot rod, which inspired this email. I fell in love with Porsche 911s as a child when my favorite Hot Wheels car was a yellow 911, presumably a Carrera RS due to the ducktail spoiler. Ever since then, I've admired 911 primarily for their design. When I got engaged, I made sure to remind my future wife that someday I would own a 911. Later in life, I was fortunate to purchase a 996 Carrera, followed by a 991 Carrera S. Unfortunately, while I still appreciate the 911 silhouette, the later models don't appeal to me as much as the early Longhorn versions, especially those with a ducktail. And I'll leave it at that. But he on that particular episode, we talked about this car, which we thought had sold as a bargain, which was a an SC, a 911 SC that had been backdated. And I think that car sold for like $70,000 or something. And he said, "Oh, I was really tracking that car." And in my back and forth exchange with him subsequently, I've told him he should have bought it because that's a hell of a buy
That was an
at
awesome
like
car. Yep.
$78,000. But long story short, I think we're gonna build a car with this gentleman, John H, for from a '86 911 that I actually happen to have. So we'll build a 3.2, and I think we're gonna try to build this thing under $150,000, and I think we'll be able to do that, including the price of the car in the deal. So we will be sure to follow along.
If it's going to be a true full throttle talk build,
Okay.
as there are design decisions to be made, I think we should decide for him. Or at least
He'll
if you present like, hey, we have these three options, whether it be a color choice, whether it be a mechanical or modification. He may say, I want this. You may say you want this, but none of you get to say until Tim and myself get to put a vote in, right?
Okay. I'll
Because
see if I can sell
in
that
the end,
into the deal, Paul.
he's gonna have, our expertise, because at the end of the day, we're gonna help him also preserve value. Like there's
Yes.
mods, you have clients that say, Hey, I want to do this, and you're sitting there going, don't do that. That's in poor taste. Yes, you want it and it's your car and you can do whatever you want. But at the end of the day, you're going to sell it and you're going to regret that decision. And I think sometimes people think they know what cool is and they don't. And it's not that I'm the purveyor of cool. I just get to, I'm like that bear standing in the stream catching salmon. I'm just watching all of this fodder go by me. And what people say is cool and isn't. And I just go, well, it seems like the masses like that. And I still can't figure out with that blue car why people didn't think was cool, because it got sold twice. And the second time by a top seller.
And it
Was
sold for
that
less the
it
second
sold
time.
for less?
Yeah.
Was that
Yeah.
auction anchor? Or was there something on that car that was disliked? I
Well,
couldn't find it.
sometimes it's literally the day of the week the auction closes
That's the
too, and the
truth.
eyeballs that you've got on it on that particular day, and it just might have been it
Yep.
timed out in a way that it was around Thanksgiving holiday or something along those lines. But he does seem to have he likes mice in blue, so that's a
Blue
color.
color,
That's a cool color, and it would be a cool color for a back date. So that was one of the colors he liked. We haven't gotten into interior and so on,
square
but I
weave.
know.
If you're gonna do Meissen, you gotta do square weave carpet, and please
Oh,
don't do a
sure.
light oatmeal. Do a
Well,
dark
so
color.
Myson's a 356 colors. The reasons that
Yep.
Kramer's saying that we have to be using the square weave, but David only uses square weave and wool square weave from Germany anyway. I don't think any of your cars, other than the silver net you had in some of the 80s cars, he's always doing things right. He doesn't need our suggestions with regards to
And by
interior.
the way, square weave is Triple Zero did a whole article on square weave carpet that, I mean, like 20 pages on that freaking fabric. And once you read that, you're converted. It is the most amazing
It's
fabric, and
wool.
it's wool,
Yeah.
and there's a good reason why they stopped doing it, because it was so freaking expensive.
Yep.
But
Yeah, it is. It's still, $150 a yard, and just the material, you gotta have about 7 or 8 yards of material, just the bulk material to then start cutting it. I mean, you
Wow.
can do one of those for about 3 grand.
Where's it
So you
made?
do it.
Where's square weave made?
It's a
Germany,
few different there's a yeah, definitely in Germany. But there's some other guys here in the US. There's another provider that makes a very similar carpet that isn't what I think of as traditional German square weave. But it's also very nice, different color combinations and stuff. So we have that available from a provider called Apex Leather, who makes and brings that into the country somehow.
I've got a
But this
suggestion
will be a cool thing.
to John H, right? So John H, maybe
John H.
take a hard look at the car that Kramer suggested, where his car, the featured, the Porsche car, the Heritage Edition interior. Take a look at that and maybe think about modeling it after that, because that blue and that interior would look really nice. And I know for a fact that David could find some houndstooth or some, well, houndstooth it would have to be, that would have that blue woven in. So that might be really beautiful. Or just
but
listen to what David suggests.
truffle brown leather. I would say truffle brown leather or
With that
dark.
blue, woo! I think we decided.
Yep.
His wife has given him the okay. I got email from him this morning, so I think we're going to make this thing happen, and we will track it along and follow with full throttle talk. So
Let's
it's
do that
cool.
every week. Honestly, let's do that
Yeah,
every
Update
week.
yeah,
photos. Update photos.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
exciting. Well, good. Anything else you guys like to say before we close out the year?
I'll just read one more comment from John Kalos out here. He says, "Greeting, gents. I'm no car expert, but I love the hobby. I've owned over 10 Porsches and prefer air cooled. I currently have a Benton built 69 912, an 88 Carrera, a 2018 Targa C4S, and a 2020 Macan S. I also have a 72 Bronco with a newer Mustang motor. But I just can't stop thinking about another German car, specifically the 72, 73 era BMW CSL or CSI 3.0. They're called the E9. Something that about that shape really draws me in. And truth be told, I would likely sell the 2018 if forced to make room. Part of the joy for me is that each of these cars needs constant vigilance. You never know for certain if everything's going to work out. I really don't have 100% confidence in any of my older cars, even when they're fully sorted. You just never know. And for some reason, that attracts me because there's always something to do. Newer cars are nice but predictable, and therefore There just isn't the same energy or emotion. That's my background. I'm looking to expand into a 3.0 CS. Do you think you guys might have this as a subject sometime about these particular? And I'll make it really quick. John, don't do it. E9s, they are the clickbait of the automotive world. They're like a fly trap. They're so freaking beautiful. They are one of the most underwhelming things to drive unless you put so much power into them. And we sold an E46 swapped one, and that power almost tore that freaking chassis apart. Designed by Italians, the build quality is garbage. They rust, they twist, and the drive is underwhelming. And if you think some of the cars you have are expensive to maintain, you have a whole new world of hurt. Um, Please don't buy an E9 because if
There's
you do,
one
I'm not selling it for you.
there's one on bat right now for it's 1 day left at $30,000. I'm sure he's watching that one. Didn't
It's
you have one of
it's
these for sale, Paul? Didn't you
we
recently?
had we had the Holy Grail. It was the
Oh, that's right.
early Alpina
Put up a
CSL.
picture. Put up a picture.
Oh, I can't hit that quickly. And it was as good as it get. It was their 911 RSR version. I'll see if I can add a picture. And as cool as it was, and as amazing as it was, and this was like a close to $300,000 car. Um, it I drove it and it was nice, but the whole time you're driving, you're going, boy, this isn't as good as here we go. This isn't as good as what could be uh, a 911 experience. Uh,
Well,
here
but
we
he's
here we
he's
go.
not he's not lacking other cars to play with. This isn't going to be his only toy. And he's already expressed his willingness to put up with the old car pain and frustration. And
But he
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 is
says
right. Those
that
cars are shockingly gorgeous.
they are shockingly gorgeous, and that's the problem is they're too pretty for their own good because your
Like you.
expectation, it's been said, they
True.
expect so much more, and then they're like, that's it.
Disappointed.
Eh, they're disappointed. They're set up to fail. And you know what? And it is sad. And by the way, this isn't just me from the few times I've sold a few. I owned one. I owned a really nice 3.0 for like 3.5 years. I did everything with it. I took it on rallies. I drove it to the mountains. I tried to fall in love with that car because it was so pretty. And in the end of the day, it just missed the mark. And then you throw on top of that, it's so hard to repair. Parts are expensive. They're kind of shit boxes. I'm sorry to say, and I know the E9 guys love them because they are so beautiful. An Alpina one, maybe they sorted it out. I mean, if I were going to buy one, it would be an Alpina one.
So this one I'm putting up as backdrop was 19 or 2023 sold for 95 grand.
Yeah,
I'll put
and
up
and
another picture.
and
Oh,
by the way, the best one that I sold was my friend. We sold one of the few cars we sold on Bringer Trailer. My friend took an E4, basically took an E46 CSL European and transplanted all the mechanicals into a Chamonix white E9, and that car was insane. And then I drove that in fury up the mountain, and that was one of the most fun drives. But he put over 300 grand into that car to build it.
well, he didn't, our guy here didn't give us a over and under as far as what he was thinking about price. So,
It,
but you're
it
saying from your
100
David,
grand.
do you have an opinion? He did. He said 100 grand.
No, no. But if he wants to, John, if you want to buy one of these, there's going to be 30, 40, 50, $80,000 cars that look good. In the end, 100 grand is what you better plan on spending. And you better get a good inspection and have someone really look at it
So
and
you're
know what
saying
you're
I
for
getting
think
the money, you would rather go, for example, a long hood S or something like that.
all day long.
What do you think, David?
sure. I would agree with that, but there's people buy cars for many, many reasons, and the appearance of the car and the visual aesthetic of the car is one of the most important reasons for sure. And an E9 is an absolutely gorgeous car, and I rally with some of these cars. I'm doing an event coming up in February down in Florida where there'll be some unbelievably gorgeous, just stunning colored E9s, and it's what you want to do, but they're running in the touring group. They're just driving the car. It's what's the use and purpose of this car for you, Paul? That probably just wasn't enough to make that a fun rally car. It's
But
more of a
even no, but
touring
even when
car.
you drive it around, it's everything. The cost of ownership is really difficult. Restoring them, please don't ever restore one. And because they're so hard to restore, a lot of them are not restored well. In the end of the day, I would rather have a cool 2002 BMW. I would rather have an Alpina like yours, Tim. Oh my gosh, an E12, which is the four-door Bavaria version. You see those hot rodded. By the way, an E12 drives so much better, having a stiffer chassis with a B pillar. I just think if you really want a cool vintage BMW, there is some great stuff from the 70s that you're missing out
Dude,
on.
what's the story with that 2002?
That car, that
Cover your
this
camera so we
car,
can see that. Holy shit,
this
that's beautiful.
so this car was the hubris of two engineers who obviously had more time. The engine, they turned this 2002 into a 2002 turbo look. It's got a 3-liter engine from an X5 twin turboed, and they made it a transaxle. The transmission is in the rear of the car. You drive this thing, it has got to be one of the most violent driving experiences. We sold this car to a client of ours in Utah. I think he still has it. I'm going to try to find a picture of the underside because it the amount of work they put into this car
We
was
get it.
insane.
So with
Yeah.
David, what would you choose if you're our listener and you're thinking about that E9, given all that Paul has just said, I'm holding my cards close to my chest right now, and that's something a box you wanted to check, even
I would check
despite
the box. I would do it. I mean, I personally think that again, it's you buy the car because you just think about the way. Now you may get it and be disappointed, but you buy it because you like the way it looks. You like the idea of you behind the wheel. It may not be the driving experience, but that's why we have, and this gentleman clearly has a number of different cars. So on this day, he's going to put these shoes on, and on another day, he's going to put another set of shoes on. That this car that Paul is showing now, this 2002, is a phenomenal car, fantastic car. It's very purpose built and looks wonderful. But if I'm a guy that just wants an E9, buy an E9. Why not?
so you guys might find this interesting, maybe not, maybe you will. But did you know Robert Downey Jr. built a hot rodded E9, BMW E9?
No.
Yeah, and this is I'm trying to find it. I have found it.
How
I'll put
long
it.
ago? Was it a long?
Um, and I don't think it was that long ago. I mean, the last 10 years. He's super into cars. I don't know,
Yeah,
of
didn't
course.
he do some series where he converted a bunch of cars to electric? I think that was Robert
He
Downey
did,
Jr.
but
that did
he
that.
owns part of a company in California that's building electric cars too, or they're
That must
doing like
explain it.
Broncos and whatnot. So this
Yep.
one, this actually is 2020, but this was an E9. I'll put up a picture here in a second for the folks watching on YouTube. And this he put in the 3.5 M5, from the E34, the whole 9 yards. And the car is amazing. And I'm going to go with what David suggested. Honestly, if you've got an itch that needs scratched, you only live once and you're dead a real long time. And if that's an experience you want to have, and he's already expressed his willingness to put up with the foibles of old cars, go for it. That's what I
Yep.
would do.
Yeah. It
I
just
want to. Hey, here's an idea, gentlemen. If we keep going for another 5 minutes or 10 minutes, we could cut this thing into two sections and have part A and part B, and have something for the listeners to listen to around the Christmas holiday as well. Right? There's an
yeah.
idea. We're part one and part two of the Christmas show here. So, you know,
Well, here I will tell you this. At least we know for sure now that it wasn't Casey that was causing us to go long.
no, definitely not.
Here's the yammerer from Costa Mesa.
I know.
I
I
supposed to. We
know.
like the Yammer. The Yammer's
I
awesome.
Yeah, I have a problem. I admit I have a problem. Hi, my name's Paul.
Well, guys, we are going to call it a day, and hopefully we're entertaining you. Hopefully you have a wonderful Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. People still celebrate Kwanzaa? I don't know. Anyway, have a wonderful holiday season, and remember to subscribe to the newsletter if you've not yet done so, fullthrottletalk.com. We will be back the first or second week in January. If again, feel free to communicate with us. We love the feedback we're getting for all of you guys. We're car nerds. We're going to keep on focusing on what's important to all of you, which is obviously important to all of us. In the meantime, have a fantastic day. Happy holidays. God bless you guys. Happy holidays.
Same.
See ya.